Chapter 1260. Bailey Hongzhuang walked to the heavenly spirit bear's side and stabbed the colored glass sword into its body. The dead heavenly spirit bear's skin and flesh were not as hard as before, so it was a very simple matter to take out the demon crystal. After taking out the demonic crystal, Bailey Hongzhuang found that the energy in this demonic crystal was obviously much more abundant than the energy of an ordinary demonic crystal. It seemed that this was a great supplement for Baisher. Baisher had already jumped excitedly onto Bailey Hongzhuang's shoulder, its big bright eyes flashing with excitement. It rubbed its palms and licked its lips, obviously craving for the demon crystal. Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled and tossed the demonic crystal to Baisher. Baisher immediately caught it and bit it. Lu Wendy and the others not far away saw that Bailey Hongzhuang had actually defeated the heavenly spirit bear, and their eyes were filled with surprise. It seemed that they had underestimated Bailey Hongzhuang's strength. Fu Yeyu's gaze fell on Baisher. This little guy had always been extraordinary. It actually ate the heavenly spirit bear's demon crystal directly. It was really amazing. What kind of demonic beast was the heavenly spirit bear? Its demon crystal contained very rich energy, but this little guy dared to eat it directly. He had never seen such a young contract beast being able to do this. What kind of contract beast was this? It was really puzzling. Su Ilian looked at the crowd and said, "It's time for us to make a move." Lu Wendy and the others looked at each other and then stood up together. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others packed up and were about to leave when an untimely voice suddenly rang out. "Leave the blood ginseng fruit." Su Ilian's sharp and disdainful voice rang out. Her lips curled into a faint smile, and her eyes were filled with an aggressive light. This woman in white had really aroused her interest. She had not paid so much attention to a woman in a long time. Seeing the sudden appearance of a group of people, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were all stunned. The atmosphere instantly turned ugly. Her ink-black phoenix eyes flashed with a deep light. Earlier she had felt that something was wrong. Now it seemed that there was indeed some other unforeseen event. Xiao He and Xiao Bai's eyes flashed with a trace of annoyance. Previously, they had placed all their attention on the heavenly spirit bear, and did not pay attention to the other movements around them. Who would have thought that there would be such a group of people hiding nearby? It seemed like the mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. The faces of Xia Jiqing and the others were ugly. They had spent a lot of effort to kill the heavenly spirit bear, and now someone was trying to take advantage of it. You've been watching the show for so long, and now you want to reap the benefits? Don't you think you're dreaming? Bailey Hongzhuang's expression was indifferent, her eyes revealing a trace of coldness, but her heart was constantly thinking about the situation in front of her. The other party was obviously from a medium-sized empire as well, and there were 8 people in the group. In comparison, they were undoubtedly at a disadvantage. Dong Fengyu and Gong Shaoqing were both heavily injured, and were clearly unable to continue fighting. The most important thing was that the other party still chose to come out after seeing her strength, which proved that the strength of their team was not weak. It seemed that this was going to be a fierce battle. "Miss, what you're saying is wrong." Lu Wendy shook his head, a chic smile on his face. Chapter 1261. Listening to Lu Wendy's words, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes flashed with a hint of understanding. It seemed that her previous guess was not wrong. The heavenly spirit bear had fallen into a state of madness because of them, and they had been watching the show from the side. This blood ginseng fruit grows between heaven and earth. Naturally, it belongs to whoever picks it. Young master's words are too unreasonable. Her deep phoenix eyes were filled with a cold light. Bailey Hongzhuang's voice was sonorous and powerful. Everyone knew that the treasures of heaven and earth belonged to whoever obtained them. What this guy said was completely twisting words and forcing logic. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang's words had exposed him, Lu Wendy did not care. "You either obediently leave the blood ginseng fruit behind, or all of you stay here together. A wise man submits to circumstances. I think you should think about it carefully." Lu Wendy crossed his arms over his chest, looking fearless. Now the fighting power of Bailey Hongzhuang's group was not comparable to theirs. Whether it was robbing or seizing, this group of people would not be their opponents. The blood ginseng fruit was already in their bag. Looking at Lu Wendy and the others' fearless appearance, Xia Jiqing secretly said, "You are too despicable." Wei Yuanqing chuckled. What is this? You have not seen what is more despicable. Gong Xiaoqing and the others' faces were livid. None of them thought that someone would come out of nowhere and want to directly take the blood ginseng fruit away. However, this was something that none of them could accept. Fu Yeyu looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. Originally, when he saw Bailey Hongzhuang from a distance, he felt that this woman was elegant and refined. At this moment, looking closer, that perfect face did not have the slightest blemish. There was a trace of gentleness in her arrogance, which was unforgettable. However, Fu Yeyu had never been a person who was obsessed with beauty. Only strength was the most important. When he became strong, how many beauties would be in his bag? Hand over the blood ginseng fruit now. Otherwise, you will be the unlucky ones. Fu Yeyu's voice was cold and arrogant. We'll let you go because you've taken care of the heavenly spirit bear. If you don't know what's good for you, don't blame us. Hearing Fu Yeyu's words, Su Ilian couldn't help but frown. She was very interested in this azure flame sacred palm. From the beginning to the end, she had never thought of letting this group of people go. As long as he killed them, not only would he be able to obtain the blood ginseng fruit, he would also be able to obtain the martial skill. This woman looks so extraordinary. She must have a lot of treasures in her Qinkuan bag. How could she let them go just like that? The problem was that both Fu Yeyu and Lu Wendy said the same thing, so she didn't know what to do. This is impossible. Gong Xiaoqing's cold face was filled with anger. They had worked so hard to obtain the blood ginseng fruit, so they could not just give it to someone else. Along the way, the thought of increasing their strength had been hovering in their minds. The blood ginseng fruit was an extremely important treasure to them now. As long as they consumed the blood ginseng fruit, their cultivation would increase by a lot. Hearing this, Fu Yeyu sneered. In your current situation, if you want to make an enemy out of us, then you are seeking your own death. Gong Xiaoqing's face became uglier. If he wasn't injured, he could have fought with the other party. Chapter 1262. Master, these guys are too arrogant. Let me beat them up. Xiao Hei's eyes were full of anger. It had always been them who robbed others. Now someone dared to rob them. This was intolerable. Xiao Bai also clenched his fists. These guys want to take advantage of us. We must not let them have an easy time. Bai Shi looked at Fu Yeyu and the others fiercely. Any cultivator who was the enemy of his master was his enemy. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Fu Yeyu and the others indifferently. Which dynasty are you from? Since they were opponents, she had to figure out the identity of the other party. Su Ilian held her head high and looked at them with contempt. Sky Dynasty. Their Sky Dynasty was a medium-sized dynasty. It was not comparable to the other small dynasty. Not only that, but the Cosmos Empire was also one of the best among the medium-sized empires. Compared to Su Ilian's triumphant appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at each other, their faces showing a trace of confusion. Have you heard of it? Xia Jiqing asked curiously. She had heard of the dynasties near the Kanglin College, but had never heard of the other dynasties. Gong Xiaoqing and the others shook their heads. They usually put all their energy into cultivation. They did not care about the names of some dynasties. They had never heard of the Sky Dynasty. As for Bailey Hongzhuang, there was no need to say more. She had never cared about the large, medium and small dynasties. Only after coming to the small world did she know that Fengbo country was a small dynasty. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, Su Ilian only felt that they were deliberately provoking her. She could not help but feel angry. A group of country bumpkins. They have never even heard of the name Sky Dynasty. Su Ilian's face was red. Generally, the cultivators of the small and medium-sized dynasties would show a red realm appearance when they knew they were from the Sky Dynasty. Some cultivators with foresight would take a detour when they saw them. Now these guys had not even heard of the name Sky Dynasty. It really made her angry. Fu Yeyu looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and the others and asked, "Which dynasty are you from?" Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. They were not from the dynasty but from the Tiangang sect. It was just that the number of people in their team was not convincing at all. Xia Jiqing had already blurted out, "Tiangang." Without waiting for Xia Jiqing to finish speaking, Su Ilian's voice had already sounded. Tiangang dynasty? What dynasty was this? I've never heard of it. The eyes of Fu Yiyu and the rest also flickered with the pondering light. They had taken note of the strength of the various empires before participating in the great competition. Although they didn't pay much attention to the small empires, they still took a few glances at them. However, they had indeed never heard of the name of the Great Dipper dynasty. Tiangang dynasty. It doesn't sound like a great dynasty. The name is so similar to Tiangang sect, it's ridiculous. Su Ilian looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and others disdainfully. The name of a small empire was actually so similar to the name of Tiangang sect. It was really like trying to draw a tiger but ended up looking like a dog. What a joke. Chapter 1263. Xia Jiqing looked at Su Ilian speechlessly. She had never seen such a self-righteous woman. She was really a weirdo. So what? Bailey Hongzhuang's phoenix eyes slightly raised, her delicate and beautiful face indifferent and calm. Since Su Ilian misunderstood, then she would let her misunderstand. Tiangang dynasty. This name was not bad. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang's rhetorical question, Su Ilian could not help but be stunned for a moment. Faced with such a question, she really did not know how to answer. It was this short period of silence that made Su Ilian even angrier. The current situation was clearly that they had the upper hand, but Bailey Hongzhuang still dared to talk to her like this. Did she not want to live anymore? Hand over the blood ginseng fruit immediately, otherwise you will all die here. Su Ilian's face was cold, her eyes burning with anger. Her delicate and beautiful face bloomed with an enchanting and evil smile, revealing an unruly and arrogant aura. Bailey Hongzhuang's red lips slightly opened. Just by you? You are not qualified. Even if Gong Shaoqing and Dongfang Yu were injured, Xiao He, Xiao Bai and Baisher were all good fighters. Although the other side had more people than them, the situation was not certain in a real battle. She, Bailey Hongzhuang, had never had the possibility of being easily taken away by others, unless the other side killed her. With Bailey Hongzhuang's sarcastic and provocative words, the atmosphere suddenly froze. Su Ilian's face was livid, but there was a trace of relief in her heart. Originally, she was worried that Bailey Hongzhuang's group would obediently hand over the blood ginseng fruit. Then she would have no fate with the sacred azure flame palm. Now Bailey Hongzhuang was not appreciating her kindness, which was exactly what she wanted to see. When Bailey Hongzhuang was defeated by her, she wanted to see if this woman could still be so arrogant. Since you don't know what's good for you, then I will let you know the price of arrogance. Su Ilian narrowed her eyes. However, Bailey Hongzhuang did not care at all. Same here. At the same time, Xia Jiqing and the others had already taken out their weapons. As cultivators, they would never give up without a fight. If you want to take away their things, you need to have enough strength. Bailey Hongzhuang sized up Su Ilian and the rest. Among these people, Fu Yeyu was the strongest. The other cultivators were not weak either. There was a certain degree of difficulty in the battle, but no one would know the outcome until the very last moment. In a moment when you have the opportunity, you must kill them. End the battle quickly, don't give them a chance to turn the tables, Bailey Hongzhuang said in a low voice. The three beasts nodded in unison. This was no laughing matter now. Their master had already lost quite a bit of his origin energy in the previous battle. Even if he consumed medicinal pills, he would not be able to recover in a short period of time. They could only end this battle as quickly as possible. Gong Shaoqing, Dongfang Yu, don't join the battle. Take care of yourselves. Hearing this, although Dongfang Yu and Gong Shaoqing were unwilling, they also knew that with their physical condition, they could not bear another battle. In the current situation, they could only wait for an opportunity. The most important thing was that they could not become a burden to Hongzhuang and the others. Jiqing, Junyu, in a moment, find your opponents and end the battle quickly. Chapter 1264. Seeing the actions of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, Fu Yeyu and the others knew that they did not intend to hand over the blood ginseng fruit and were going to fight to the death. Miss, I advise you not to be stubborn. If you lose your life for the blood ginseng fruit, it is not a good deal. Lu Wendy's lips evoked an evil smile. If the woman in white was not their opponent, he would really appreciate it. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were like a knife, sharp and cold. Stop talking nonsense. If you want to take the blood ginseng fruit, You have to see if you have the strength. With Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Lu Wendy and the others' faces were also filled with a disdainful smile. It was a simple matter for them to deal with a team from a small empire. You won't give up until you reach the Yellow River. Fu Yiyu sneered. The origin energy in his body surged out like a tidal wave, and a vigorous energy burst out in an instant. Orange Realm Level 5. Feeling the strength of Fu Yiyu, everyone's expression changed. They already knew that Fu Yeyu's strength was very strong before, but they did not expect him to have reached Orange Realm Level 5. They were also from a medium-sized empire, but the strength of Fu Yeyu and the others was much stronger than Liang Xinghui and the others they had encountered before. Xia Jiqing and the others understood at this moment that the Sky Empire was a very strong existence among the medium-sized empires, so the strength of the cultivators was so strong. At the same time, Su Ilian took a step forward, and the tyrannical strength burst out in an instant. Bailey Hongzhuang looked indifferent. In this short moment she also understood the strength of the other party. 1 Orange Realm Level 5, 2 Orange Realm Level 4, 1 Orange Realm Level 3, 1 Orange Realm Level 1, 2 Red Realm Level 8, and 1 Red Realm Level 7. Compared with the strength of the two teams there was a huge gap. No wonder the other party was not afraid after knowing their strength. This battle was not easy. The faces of Xia Jiqing and the others were pale. Except for Hongzhuang, Xiao He and Xiao Bai who could fight with the other party, their combat power was not enough. Originally, they did not know the other party's strength, so they were very indifferent. Now it seemed that the gap between their strength was not ordinary. Master, the difference in strength is a little too great. A serious look appeared in Xiao Bai's eyes. The few of them were not afraid, but Gong Xiaoqing and the others were clearly weak points. Once the other party held Gong Xiaoqing and the others hostage, their situation would be extremely awkward. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned slightly. This situation was indeed difficult to resolve. If it was only her and the three beasts, they could still put up a fight. But in the current situation, it was obviously impossible to fight head-on. Suddenly, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lit up. At this point they only had one solution. The three beasts saw the sudden change in Bailey Hongzhuang's face, and there was a hint of surprise in their eyes. They did not know what their master had thought of. The blood ginseng fruit could improve the strength of the cultivator. After Bailey Hongzhuang got the blood ginseng fruit, she only wanted to combine it with several other herbs to refine it into a pill. In this way, the best effect of the blood ginseng fruit could be exerted. But in the current situation, it was obvious that they could not wait for that moment. In this case, there was only one way left, which was to take the blood ginseng fruit. Chapter 1265. Thinking of this, Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly said, "Wait a moment, I have to discuss with my teammates." Seeing the sudden change in Bailey Hongzhuang's attitude, Fu Yeyu and the others had a clear smile on their faces. It could only be said that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were not willing to give up. They were so arrogant before when they did not know their strength. Now that they knew how powerful they were, they changed their attitude. Gong Xiaoqing and the others listened to Bailey Hongzhuang's words, and there was a strong sense of helplessness and frustration in their hearts. They understood that Bailey Hongzhuang's decision was wise. With their current strength, they were indeed not the opponents of the cultivators of the Sky Empire. If they fought hard, it was likely that they would be wiped out. Compared to such an ending, the loss of handing over the blood ginseng fruit was undoubtedly much smaller. However, an opportunity to improve their own strength had slipped away from their eyes, which was undoubtedly a very painful thing. Fu Yeyu and the others looked at each other. They were also a little afraid of the strength that Bailey Hongzhuang had shown before. Although they were certain to win this battle, with the difficulty of Bailey Hongzhuang and the three monsters, they were afraid that they would have to pay a big price. In contrast, if they could easily get the blood ginseng fruit, they would naturally choose this more advantageous way. After all, they still had to stay in the small world for a while. If their strength was reduced, it would be very disadvantageous for them in the next year. A wise man submits to circumstances, you can discuss it, Fu Yeyu said generously. In any case, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others would not escape from their hands. Even if they wanted to delay time, it was nothing. Because no matter how they delayed time, the final situation could not be changed. Bailey Hongzhuang took a few steps back and walked in front of Xia Jiqing and the others. Xia Jiqing and the others' mood at the moment could be described as very low. It was a rare luck to be able to encounter a treasure like the blood ginseng fruit. They did not expect that now they would have to hand over the blood ginseng fruit. They really could not bear such a blow. Because of their incompetence, they could only hand over such a treasure. However, Bailey Hongzhuang's next words made them stunned for a moment, and their eyes once again bloomed with a bright light. Everyone listen carefully, now we only have one way left, that is to take the blood ginseng fruit. The energy contained in the blood ginseng fruit is powerful and violent. It will be difficult to swallow it with the strength of the red realm, but I have a kind of medicinal pill that is more gentle. As long as you take the blood ginseng fruit with this pill, the violent elements in the energy will be reduced a lot, and you will face the state of breakthrough. In this case, we can only to fight a quick battle to end. Her ink-black phoenix-like eyes were filled with a resolute light. In her life's creed, there was no such thing as surrendering to others. Therefore, even if he had to risk his life, he had to give it a try. Asked Bailey Hongzhuang to them was to be? Asked. Them Hongzhuang is Wang. She. Gong Shaoqing and the others nodded without hesitation. No problem. They could not wait for Bailey Hongzhuang to make such a decision. They knew that an interview was much better than surrendering in their eyes. Chapter 1266. Fu Yeyu and the others looked arrogantly at Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. No matter how Bailey Hongzhuang and the others discussed, there was no solution in front of them, so they could only let them discuss. If you knew this would happen, why would you waste time letting us release our aura? Lu Wendy's face was filled with a smug smile. It was this kind of feeling that was the most satisfying. Without making a move, just releasing their aura was enough to make the other party raise their hands and surrender. What kind of strength was this? It's not easy for them. They spent a lot of effort, but in the end they didn't get anything. Wei Yuanqing chuckled. Su Ilian was not as happy as the others. She just wanted to kill Bailey Hongzhuang, but she did not expect that Bailey Hongzhuang would change her mind at the last moment. Hey, have you finished discussing? Su Ilian said impatiently. Now hand over the blood ginseng fruit and you can get out. For some reason, listening to Su Ilian's words, Fu Yeyu could not help but frown. He always felt that something was wrong. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly turned around. Her lips evoked a bright and enchanting smile, and said, "We have finished discussing." The next moment, Xia Jiqing and the others had already put the blood ginseng fruit they got from Bailey Hongzhuang into their mouths. In their view, they had a total of 5 cultivators and 5 blood ginseng fruits had grown here. It was completely prepared for them by God. How could they hand it over so easily? Bailey Hongzhuang also put the blood ginseng fruit into her mouth, along with the medicinal pills. The blood ginseng fruit melted in her mouth, and immediately turned into rich energy that was absorbed by the cells in her body. Everyone only felt that their internal organs were burning, and their whole body seemed to have endless power. Gong Shaoqing and Dong Fang, you felt that their injuries were gradually alleviated under the influx of this energy. Any heaven and earth treasure had the effect of healing injuries, but usually cultivators would not make such a choice because it was too wasteful. However, in the situation in front of them, they had no other choice at all. Fu Yeyu and the others did not think that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others would suddenly make such a decision. The energy of the blood ginseng fruit was so violent that they directly swallowed it. Did they not want to live anymore? After a short moment of surprise, Fu Yeyu and the rest all had a look of anger on their faces. There were only 5 blood ginseng fruits. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had all eaten these 5 blood ginseng fruits. Didn't this mean that they had nothing? How dare you? Fu Yeyu quickly stepped forward, wanting to stop Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. A treasure like the blood ginseng fruit was a great tonic for any cultivator. As long as their strength could be improved, it meant that they would be able to achieve better results in the assessment competition. However, now Bailey Hongzhuang and the others actually ate the blood ginseng fruit in front of them. But Fu Yeyu's stop was of no use. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had long known that Fu Yeyu and the others would try their best to stop them, so they took it as quickly as possible, not giving the other party a chance to stop them. After taking the blood ginseng fruit, Bailey Hongzhuang innocently spread her hands. Sorry, this is our decision. Chapter 1267. You guys are so despicable. Su Illian's eyes widened as she stared at Bailey Hongzhuang in disbelief. The blood ginseng fruit was so powerful that even with their cultivation base, they did not dare to swallow the fruit directly. This group of people was too deranged to actually make such a crazy decision. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Su Illian coldly. No matter how despicable I am, I can't be more despicable than you guys. You guys are dreaming if you want to reap the benefits from our fight. Su Illian's face was ashen. Her original wishful thinking had been broken by Bailey Hongzhuang. The anger in her heart could be imagined. You're asking for it. Su Illian shouted angrily. Bailey Hongzhuang's actions were tantamount to humiliating them. It was simply unbearable. As Su Illian's voice fell, the Yuanqi and Fu Yeyu and the others' bodies whizzed out in an instant. At this point, they must kill Bailey Hongzhuang and the others to vent the anger in their hearts. Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest were prepared to fight as they watched Su Illian and the rest. Moreover, they felt like they could not exert their strength under the immense energy of the blood ginseng fruit. To be able to have a battle at this time was the best thing. Leave the orange level 5 guy to me. Xiao Hei's eyes flashed coldly. These guys were so arrogant just because they were strong. It had to make them pay the price. Leave the 2 orange level 4 guys to me. Xiaobai said. Normally, it would only fight monsters that were not strong enough. It was quite boring. It did not expect to see such a good show today. It was rare to have such a good opportunity to perform. Of course, it had to perform well. It had not had a chance to relax for so many years. These guys were perfect for it to practice. Bailey Hongzhuang originally wanted to fight Lu Wendy, who was at orange level 4. However, since Xiaobai said that it would take care of these 2 guys, it changed its mind. Xiaobai, hang in there for a while. I'll help you after I've taken care of the orange level rank 3 cultivator, Bailey Hongzhuang said. The strength of Xia Jiqing's group and the other 4 cultivators obviously had a big gap. Therefore, they had to deal with these 4 cultivators as soon as possible. As long as they could get rid of these 4 fellows, they would win. Otherwise, they would suffer great losses. Master, don't worry, leave it to me. Xiaobai's eyes shone with determination. It could still hold on against 2 orange level 4 cultivators. Xia Jiqing and the other 3 also chose their opponents. With their current cultivation, it was obviously not easy to deal with the other party. However, under the turbulent energy of the blood ginseng fruit, they only felt that their combat effectiveness had improved a lot. Baisher decided to help Xia Jiqing and the others. Only in this way could they last longer. In just a short moment, everyone had already found their opponents. Xiao Hei and Xiaobai stepped forward and blocked Fu Yeyu and the other 2. At the same time, Su Illian walked directly to Bailey Hongzhuang. She had been unhappy with Bailey Hongzhuang for a long time. Now she finally had a chance to deal with Bailey Hongzhuang. What's your name? Su Illian's eyes shone with a fierce light as she asked coldly. Bailey Hongzhuang's face was cold and indifferent. My name is Bailey Hongzhuang, and I'll never change my surname. Chapter 1268. Bailey Hongzhuang's ink-black phoenix eyes were filled with a trace of ridicule. The corners of her lips rose slightly, and her originally delicate and moving face became even more beautiful. The sunlight shone on her body, giving her a layer of golden glow. She looked even more beautiful. This sentence seems to be more suitable for you. Her light words were indifferent and confident, and her fair and smooth face was filled with confidence. Bailey Hongzhuang was clearly at a disadvantage, but she did not show any signs of discouragement. Su Illian felt even more unhappy looking at Bailey Hongzhuang. Today was her first time meeting Bailey Hongzhuang. However, she did not know why, but when she saw Bailey Hongzhuang, she could not help but feel disgusted. She knew very well that it was an emotion called jealousy. However, she could not understand. Her background and ability were clearly more powerful than Bailey Hongzhuang. Why would she be jealous? Therefore, she did not want to admit it. There was only one way to make this emotion disappear completely. She had to kill Bailey Hongzhuang. You're just an Orange Realm level 2 cultivator. How dare you talk nonsense to me? What a joke. Su Illian chuckled. Her cultivation was one level higher than Bailey Hongzhuang. Moreover, she came from a middle-sized dynasty. She would definitely be more powerful than Bailey Hongzhuang, who came from a small-sized dynasty. She only had to worry about Bailey Hongzhuang's sacred green flame palm. Other than that, she had nothing to worry about. Looking at Su Ilian's self-righteous appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyebrows flashed with a trace of impatience. Don't talk nonsense, let's fight. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Su Ilian couldn't help but be surprised. In this situation, Bailey Hongzhuang should be afraid of her. However, Bailey Hongzhuang actually dared to challenge her first? Su Ilian's face turned cold. Since you can't wait to die, I'll grant you your wish. In the next moment, Su Ilian took a step forward. Her Orange Realm Level 3 aura instantly exploded. As if to show that she was more powerful than Bailey Hongzhuang, Su Ilian immediately released her aura towards Bailey Hongzhuang. Although the difference in their abilities was very small and the aura had little effect, there was still some effect. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved into a sneer. This Su Ilian was really too naive. She actually used such a useless trick. Wasn't this just a joke? Bailey Hongzhuang stood motionless in the same place, letting Su Ilian exert pressure on her. She didn't react at all. For a moment, Su Ilian's face was somewhat ugly. Bailey Hongzhuang's actions were tantamount to mocking her stupidity. With this little bit of pressure, is it just scratching an itch? Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were filled with mockery. This cultivator from a middle-sized dynasty was really different. Su Ilian's face turned black. At least I can still release my aura. You don't even have the right to do that. As Su Ilian's voice fell, Bailey Hongzhuang's deep black eyes suddenly flashed with a touch of light. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips hooked into an enchanting smile as she lazily looked at Su Ilian. If I can use my power, then what? Su Ilian sneered. Are you dreaming? This Bailey Hongzhuang must have been provoked to the point of insanity, to even dare to say such words. Chapter 1269. However, in the next moment, Su Ilian's pupils constricted. She felt a huge pressure pressing down on her, as if a small mountain was pressing down on her back. Her movements slowed down, and even the circulation of the origin energy in her body slowed down considerably. Most importantly, she felt an indescribable smell of blood spreading throughout her body. Su Ilian looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in shock. This was impossible. Bailey Hongzhuang was only at level 2 of the Orange Realm. How could she exert such pressure on her? Under the suppression of Bailey Hongzhuang's pressure, Su Ilian could not use her powers at level 3 of the Red Realm. She was probably weaker than Bailey Hongzhuang. This is impossible. How did you do it? Su Ilian's heart was in turmoil. She had lived in this world for more than 10 years and she had never heard of such a thing. Looking at the situation where Su Ilian's strength was suppressed, Bailey Hongzhuang's black phoenix eyes were filled with a trace of satisfaction. This was the first time she had used the blood aura field since she had obtained it in the Bloodland Abyss. It seemed that the effect was better than she had imagined. For a cultivator, it was very difficult to fight someone who was at a higher level. However, with the blood aura field, it was very easy for her to fight someone who was at a higher level. As long as she used the blood aura field, her opponent's powers would be suppressed. This way, the gap between the two of them would be narrowed. Thinking of this, Bailey Hongzhuang expanded the range of the blood aura field. Through this method, she could weaken her opponent's powers. This was the most powerful part of the blood aura field. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled brightly. Just because you can't do it doesn't mean it's impossible. Not far away, Fu Yeyu and the rest were planning to kill everyone. Suddenly, they felt an inexplicable pressure shrouding them. Their powers were suppressed in a short period of time, and their movements became much slower. After realizing this, Fu Yeyu and the others looked at each other in dismay. This was simply impossible. The three beasts could not help but look at Bailey Hongzhuang. After sensing this familiar aura, they knew that this was the effect of the blood aura field. This was a great help for the current situation. It seemed that it was much easier for them to end the battle quickly. What's going on? Lu Wendy's face was filled with confusion. How could such a thing happen out of nowhere? Wei Yuanqing, Fu Yeyu and the rest were confused. The strongest person in their team was level 5 of the Orange Realm. Level 5's aura logically should not be able to suppress them. So what was going on? So this aura. I've never heard of such a thing. Lu Wendy looked at Bailey Hongzhuang doubtfully. This matter was too strange, it didn't conform to common sense at all. Fu Yeyu frowned. Under this aura he could smell the faint smell of blood. This was very strange. After thinking for a moment, a thought suddenly appeared in Fu Yeyu's mind. However, when this thought appeared, he could not help but wipe it away. Chapter 1270. The Blood Abyss was one of the 3 great abyss in the Shangxian continent, and was the gathering place for human sins. The Blood Qi Tower was a place that every cultivator wanted to explore. However, not every cultivator had the guts to venture into such a place that was filled with evil and danger. Furthermore, in the history of the Blood Qi Tower, the number of cultivators who had obtained the inheritance was very few. It was almost impossible to encounter one on a normal day. The Blood Qi field was an extremely powerful inheritance. Once the Blood Qi field was used, it could completely ignore the opponent's coercion, and could even suppress the opponent's strength. This ability could be said to be heaven-defying. No matter which cultivator obtained this ability, their battle power would greatly increase. The coercion displayed by Bailey Hongzhuang was very similar to the legendary Blood Qi field, but this was simply impossible. Could it be? This is the Blood Qi field? Fu Yeyu could not help but look at Bailey Hongzhuang. Although he felt that the possibility of this was almost zero, he had a faint feeling that made him ask this question. Hearing Fu Yeyu's words, Su Ilian and the rest were stunned. The Blood Qi field, what kind of powerful inheritance was that? It was said that only the most talented cultivators had the right to obtain it. Ordinary people could only look up to it. If someone were to say that Bailey Hongzhuang had obtained the Blood Qi field, they would not believe it at all. Xiao He looked at Fu Yeyu with a pleased expression. I didn't expect you to have such good eyesight. The sudden words caused Fu Yeyu and the rest to be stunned once again. They looked at Xiao He in horror. Did they hear wrongly? This demonic beast could actually speak? Logically speaking, other than those extremely powerful demonic beasts who could transform into human form and speak, other demonic beasts should not be able to speak at all. Contracted beasts had always been able to communicate with their own masters, and would never be able to communicate with other cultivators. However, they had now encountered a demonic beast that could speak? How can you speak? Wei Yuanqing was completely dumbfounded. What kind of abnormal combination had they encountered today? This young woman, who was probably even younger than them, had actually obtained the inheritance of the Blood Qi Tower. This furry, unknown demonic beast's contracted beast could actually speak. Today's trip had really broadened their horizons. Seeing Wei Yuanqing making a fuss over nothing, Xiao He looked at him with disdain. You're allowed to speak, but I'm not? Ignorant. Wei Yuanqing was about to go crazy. Was this a problem of ignorance? If it was any other cultivator, they would feel that this was simply impossible. Most importantly, he was being looked down upon by a contract beast? Fu Yeyu and the others were completely stunned. Everything that had happened today was simply unacceptable to them. Fu Yeyu's gaze landed on Bailey Hongzhuang. Xiao He's words had confirmed his guess. Bailey Hongzhuang had actually obtained the Blood Aura field. What kind of heaven-defying talent was that? As everyone knew, in the history of the Shangxian continent, any cultivator who obtained the inheritance of the Blood Qi Tower would eventually grow into an extraordinary figure. In that case, Bailey Hongzhuang's future achievements would not be small, and they had offended a cultivator whose future was filled with limitless possibilities. Chapter 1271. If one were to say that he had not been so eager to kill Bailey Hongzhuang and the others in the past, now that he had found out about Bailey Hongzhuang's terrifying talents, the murderous intent in his heart grew even more intense. Offending a powerful enemy was absolutely terrifying. Once the other party has grown, they would all die without a burial ground. If he had known about Bailey Hongzhuang's potential earlier, he would never have chosen to make Bailey Hongzhuang an enemy. However, since this enmity has already been formed, He could only cut the weeds and eliminate the roots. No matter what, they could not allow Bailey Hongzhuang to have the chance to grow. Otherwise, once Bailey Hongzhuang has grown, they would all be in an incomparably miserable state. Su Ilian and the others were clearly aware of this as well. Now that things have come to this, they no longer had any other choice. The battle broke out in an instant. Fu Yeyu and the others no longer dared to underestimate Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. For the sake of their future, they must kill them with all their might. Sensing the change in their opponents, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others did not delay any longer. In today's battle, it was either you die or I die. At this moment, Su Ilian no longer dared to underestimate Bailey Hongzhuang because under the suppression of the blood chi field, the power that she could display was much weaker than Bailey Hongzhuang's. Su Ilian suddenly took a step forward and turned into a ray of light as she charged directly towards Bailey Hongzhuang. The Yuan power within her body surged wildly as her large fist broke through the air and exploded with a sonic boom. She did not hesitate to attack Bailey Hongzhuang's face. Seeing Su Ilian's actions, Bailey Hongzhuang was not flustered at all. When Su Ilian's fist struck out, she met it with her own fist. Bang! Two white palms came into contact with each other. Thud, thud, thud. Following that, a figure quickly retreated a few steps. Su Ilian's expression was extremely ugly. Initially, she had not thought much of Bailey Hongzhuang. She did not expect that after releasing the blood chi field, Bailey Hongzhuang's power would be so much stronger than hers. Faintly, she had the feeling that she was no match for Bailey Hongzhuang in the rain. Thinking of this, Su Ilian's eyes flashed with flames of fury. This was something that she could not accept. Bailey Hongzhuang simply didn't care about what Su Ilian was thinking. She instantly used fulgurating shadow transposition. She had never thought of Su Ilian as a difficult opponent. She wanted to finish this battle quickly and get rid of Su Ilian first. With a thought, Bailey Hongzhuang used the shadow shifting technique, her figure turning into a white light that directly closed the distance between her and Su Ilian. At the same time, the glazed sword. Shadowless kill. Bailey Hongzhuang's figure was like a ghost, and with only a flash of white light, Su Ilian's heart instinctively produced a feeling of fear. That was the fear of death. Bailey Hongzhuang's figure flashed and her figure appeared directly behind Su Ilian. Following that, the sound of a heavy object falling suddenly rang out from behind her. Bang! Su Ilian's figure fell heavily onto the ground and on her neck. An extremely thin sword mark appeared quietly as blood spurted out wildly. Su Ilian stared at Bailey Hongzhuang with wide eyes. She could not believe that in just one move, she had already died in the hands of Bailey Hongzhuang. This was simply impossible. Chapter 1272. After killing Su Ilian, Bailey Hongzhuang didn't even look back. From the beginning to the end, she never regarded Su Ilian as her opponent. Her strength had always been very stable. After the experience in the Bloodland Abyss, her combat effectiveness had improved again. Cultivators of the same level would never be her opponent. Su Ilian's original strength was stronger than her, and it might take some effort. However, after using the blood chi field, Su Ilian's strength was suppressed to be weaker than Orange Realm Level 2. In this way, it would be easy for her to kill Su Ilian. In just a short moment, Su Ilian died in the hands of Bailey Hongzhuang, which brought great shock to Fu Yeyu and the others. Bailey Hongzhuang's fighting speed was too amazing. In this short period of time, they had already lost a teammate. After Xia Jiqing and the others saw that Bailey Hongzhuang's fighting speed was so fast, everyone's faces couldn't help but show a smile of joy. Hongzhuang was really too powerful. Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at the battlefield. Xiao He and Fu Yeyu were currently equal in strength, so there was no need to worry for the time being. Although it was difficult for Xiao Bai to deal with Lu Wendi and Wei Yuanqing, it should not be a problem for her to hold on for a while. In contrast, the pressure faced by Xia Jiqing and the others was undoubtedly a bit greater. After all, Xia Jiqing and the others were all Red Realm cultivators. Facing the same Red Realm cultivators, they still had room to play. However, there was still an Orange Realm Level 1 cultivator which caused a lot of pressure on them. Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at the battlefield and had already made a decision. She had to first kill the Orange Realm Level 1 cultivator and then help Xiao Bai. When Bailey Hongzhuang came to the battle circle of Xia Jiqing and the others, the Orange Realm Level 1 cultivator immediately found that Bailey Hongzhuang's opponent was her. Her eyes flashed with a hint of panic. She originally planned to kill Xia Jiqing and the other Red Realm cultivators first. She didn't expect Bailey Hongzhuang to be free. As a result, she was in danger. Bailey Hongzhuang's figure flew like a ghost. Everyone only felt a white light passing by their eyes. When they saw it again, Bailey Hongzhuang was already standing in front of the Orange Realm Level 1 cultivator. The Orange Realm Level 1 cultivator wanted to avoid Bailey Hongzhuang, but Bailey Hongzhuang was too fast and he couldn't escape. Ding! Bailey Hongzhuang didn't waste any time and the battle immediately broke out. At the same time, Xia Jiqing, Bai Junyu, Dongfang Yu, Gong Shaoqing, and Baisher were attacking 2 Red Realm Level 8 and 1 Red Realm Level 7 cultivators. Although Dongfang Yu and Gong Shaoqing suffered internal injuries, under the power of the blood ginseng fruit, their injuries undoubtedly recovered a lot. Xia Jiqing and Bai Junyu only felt that there was endless power in their bodies. Even if the other party was stronger than them, they were still brave and began to besiege without fear. The Orange Realm Level 1 cultivators were simply vulnerable in front of Bailey Hongzhuang. They were also killed in a face-to-face speed. In a short time, 2 cultivators of the Sky Dynasty had fallen, and both of them died in the hands of Bailey Hongzhuang. Looking at this scene, Fu Yeyu and the others' faces became more and more ugly. Chapter 1273. Bailey Hongzhuang did not expect the effect of the blood aura to be so effective. The disparity between their strengths was reduced by the blood aura. On the contrary, their chances of winning were greatly increased. After killing another cultivator, Bailey Hongzhuang immediately went to Xiao Bai's side. Xiao Bai was facing 2 Orange Realm rank for cultivators alone, so she was under a lot of pressure. As contracted beasts, Xiao He and Xiao Bai's Orange Realm rank 5 cultivation levels were very high. However, as beasts, they had not mastered any martial skills. Therefore, they were undoubtedly at a disadvantage when fighting cultivators of the same level. Strangely enough, Xiao He and Xiao Bai's cultivation levels were Orange Realm rank 5 when she first met them. Until now, Xiao He and Xiao Bai's cultivation levels were still Red Realm rank 5. She wasn't the only one who didn't know the reason. Little Black and Little White also didn't know the reason. She was a little suspicious. Could it be that Little Black and Little White's cultivation was fixed? Or could it be that they had not found a way to level up? Bailey Hongzhuang stood in front of Lu Wendy. Lu Wendy's cultivation level was Orange Realm rank 4. Under the suppression of the blood aura, his current cultivation level was on par with hers. In fact, he was slightly stronger than her. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's appearance, Lu Wendy's eyes flashed with viciousness. Bailey Hongzhuang, I didn't expect you to be so powerful. You're so ruthless. They had come to the small world as representatives of the Cosmos dynasty. In the past month they had never suffered such a huge loss. But now Bailey Hongzhuang had killed 2 of their teammates. It really made them hate her to the extreme. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang sneered. If it weren't for your evil intentions, this wouldn't have happened. Lu Wendy simply didn't care about what Bailey Hongzhuang said. Don't be complacent too early. Until the last moment, no one will know the final result. His cultivation level was 2 levels higher than Bailey Hongzhuang's. Even with the blood aura, he could still defeat Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang smirked. Her deep and charming eyes were filled with disdain. Try it then. Lu Wendy snorted coldly, and in an instant, his spirit power roared like a tiger. His figure retreated a dozen steps in a row, directly pulling away from Bailey Hongzhuang. He knew that Bailey Hongzhuang's movements were extremely strange. If he let Bailey Hongzhuang get close, it would be a disaster. Once he distanced himself from her, the situation would be different. Lu Wendy's hands kept moving and he quietly formed a complicated seal. He wanted to kill Bailey Hongzhuang in one fell swoop. As Lu Wendy formed the hand seal, a powerful force silently appeared in the world. A heart-palpitating force spread out from Qiaowen. Then, under everyone's shocked gazes, a huge axe floated in the air. At first glance there was a terrifying sense of sharpness. It was shocking. Bailey Hongzhuang's movements were also not slow. Her white hands were constantly moving, and the complicated movements were even more dazzling. In a short period of time a huge green flame palm appeared once again. Feeling the rapidly rising temperature around him, Lu Wendy's expression changed a little. When he saw the sacred green flame palm from afar, he did not feel it so clearly. Chapter 1274. Bailey Hongzhuang obviously did not intend to waste too much time with Lu Wendy. In the next instant, Bailey Hongzhuang's hand seals suddenly changed. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's changing hand seals again, Lu Wendy's eyes flashed with a trace of sinister and grave light. Obviously, Bailey Hongzhuang was preparing to use the strengthened sacred green flame palm. Thinking of this, Lu Wendy's heart was indescribably gloomy. Originally, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest were already exhausted after killing the heavenly spirit bear. Even if they had consumed the energy recovery pill, their yuan qi would not be able to recover to its original state immediately. Under such circumstances, it could be said that they had a 100% chance of winning against Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest. However, after Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest consumed the blood ginseng fruit, not only did they not show any signs of insufficient yuan qi, on the contrary, their yuan qi was so abundant that it made people tremble with fear. This was a mistake that caused everlasting regret. They had never expected that Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest would stake it all on one throw. This really made them drop their glasses. With such abundant energy, it was easy for Bailey Hongzhuang to use the sacred azure flame palm again. She didn't feel the slightest difficulty. The next moment, as Bailey Hongzhuang's hand seals suddenly condensed, the cyan palm in midair also suddenly shrank, and only the crackling of sparks could be heard, which made people's hearts jump. However, Lu Wendy's face did not show any signs of worry, because this move of his was also his trump card. He knew that Bailey Hongzhuang's strength was not ordinary. Once they fought, he had to display his strongest strength, otherwise the unlucky one would be himself. Lu Wendy was also very confident in his trump card. In the past, a cultivator with a higher cultivation base than him had also died under his trump card. Bailey Hongzhuang's strength was even weaker than his. He believed that the person who would regret this time would be Bailey Hongzhuang. After all, the foundation of a medium-sized empire's cultivator was far from what a small-sized empire's cultivator could compare to. Onyx giant axe. Lu Wendy shouted coldly. A small-sized empire's cultivator actually dared to be so arrogant in front of them. He wanted to let the other party know how powerful they were. After hearing Lu Wendy's voice, Wei Yuanqing, Fu Yeyu and the rest who were not far away had a joyful smile appear on their faces. They had seen Lu Wendy use the onyx giant axe before, and its power was extremely powerful. Even with Bailey Hongzhuang's sacred azure flame palm, the final result was still unknown. In their opinion, Lu had a better chance of winning. Onyx flame palm. In the next moment the two Hongzhi's attack. In the next moment the two attacks collided in midair. Bang! The to Hongzhuang's twos, of course, to be to Hongzhuang's a moment of moments. Smoke and dust rose, yellow sand splashed, and even the ground became shaky. Xia Jiqing and the others who were fighting not far away could not help but look at Bailey Hongzhuang and the others after seeing such an earth-shattering collision, because the power of this collision was too terrifying. Suddenly, Gong Shaoqing and the others' faces changed. Not good, the ground is unstable. I'm afraid it's going to collapse. As Gong Shaoqing's voice fell, everyone's face suddenly changed. They immediately ignored the fight and flew away, avoiding the collapsing ground. In an instant, sand and stones flew and the ground trembled. Chapter 1275. The faces of Fu Yeyu and the others suddenly changed. None of them thought that the confrontation between Lu Wendy and Bailey Hongzhuang would have such a huge impact. One by one, the figures flew away at lightning speed. Only when they were some distance away did they stop and look at the cloud of dust behind them. Rumble! The situation was as everyone thought. The ground beside the cliff quickly turned into gravel and fell into the abyss. Even after falling, there was no echo, showing the horror of the abyss. At this moment, the figures of Bailey Hongzhuang and Lu Wendy appeared in everyone's mind. After all, the two were in the center of the crack in the ground. Bailey Hongzhuang and Lu Wendy were not beside them. At the thought of this, Xia Jiqing and the others couldn't help but feel nervous and worried. They immediately shouted, "Hongzhuang!" Boom! The yellow sand and smoke gradually dissipated, and the silhouettes of Bailey Hongzhuang and Lu Wendy appeared in everyone's sight. However, after seeing this scene, everyone's eyes couldn't help but be filled with horror. They saw that Bailey Hongzhuang and Lu Wendy were on the edge of the cliff. The two were in a stalemate. Obviously, they wanted to push each other down the abyss. Bailey Hongzhuang, go to hell! Lu Wendy grabbed Bailey Hongzhuang's clothes and kept pushing Bailey Hongzhuang. He also didn't think that the confrontation between the two of them would cause such a big change. The onyx giant axe that he had always been proud of couldn't defeat Bailey Hongzhuang. However, under this blow, Bailey Hongzhuang was also injured, and her injury was slightly more serious than his. As long as he pushed Bailey Hongzhuang down the cliff, then they could win this battle. Bailey Hongzhuang, this woman, was indeed a heaven-defying existence. Obviously, her cultivation was not as strong as theirs, but her existence determined the result of this battle. Hongzhuang! Master! After Xia Jiqing and the others knew Lu Wendy's intention, they immediately rushed over. No matter what, they absolutely could not allow such a thing to happen. At the same time, Fu Yeyu and the others were once again stunned by the three beasts' greetings. Originally, they only thought that Baisher was Bailey Hongzhuang's contracted beast, but at that moment, the three beasts had clearly addressed Bailey Hongzhuang as their master. Could it be that Bailey Hongzhuang had contracted three demonic beasts? When this thought surfaced, Fu Yeyu and the others felt that it was a little ridiculous. This was simply an impossible thing. However, they hadn't heard wrongly just now. For a moment, Fu Yeyu and the others felt that it was a little funny. How could there be so many strange things in this world? Moreover, it happened to the same woman. This was too strange. However, Fu Yeyu and the others' reaction was also very fast. As early as in the previous battle, they had understood how much impact Bailey Hongzhuang had on this battle. If Bailey Hongzhuang was still there, they might even have the possibility of being defeated. However, once Bailey Hongzhuang disappeared, the pressure of the blood chi field would naturally not exist. In this way, it was extremely easy for them to solve these cultivators. Therefore, Fu Yeyu and the others immediately blocked Xia Jiqing and the others who were ready to help. At this critical moment, they couldn't let Xia Jiqing and the others save Bailey Hongzhuang. Chapter 1276. Go away. Xia Jiqing looked at the guy in front of her angrily and rushed directly to Bailey Hongzhuang. If Hongzhuang was pushed into the abyss by Lu Wendy, she didn't even dare to think about the result. Your opponent is me. The cultivator at the 8th level of the Red Realm stood in front of Xia Jiqing. You want to save her? No way. The three beasts also rushed over. They couldn't let their master be hurt. At the same time, Fu Yeyu and Wei Yuanqing also stopped them. They had a certain understanding of Lu Wendy's strength. Lu Wendy's strength had always been very strong, and the strength of cultivators of the same level could not be compared with him. Not to mention that Bailey Hongzhuang was a woman. Her cultivation was weaker than Lu Wendy. Therefore, if Lu Wendy wanted to push Bailey Hongzhuang down, there would be no accident. What they needed to do was to buy time for Lu Wendy. That way they would win this battle. Looking at the actions of the cultivators of the Sky Dynasty, everyone was furious. These guys were too despicable. Bailey Hongzhuang was in a deadlock with Lu Wendy, constantly pushing each other. Your strength can't be compared with mine, go to hell. Lu Wendy's eyes were filled with a trace of pride. He could already imagine that after this battle, he would be the hero of the Sky Dynasty team. Behind her was the abyss, and Bailey Hongzhuang could feel a chill coming from the abyss. The wind was whistling, her hair was swaying in the wind, and her body was shaking. If she was not careful, she would be buried in the abyss. However, in such a situation, Bailey Hongzhuang's dark eyes still did not have a trace of emotion. On the contrary, there was a terrible calmness. Bailey Hongzhuang's hands also tightly grasped Lu Wendy's clothes, and her delicate and beautiful face was filled with a trace of madness. Since we are going to die, let's die together. As soon as her voice fell, Bailey Hongzhuang pulled Lu Wendy closer to the cliff. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's crazy actions, Lu Wendy was dumbfounded. He wanted to push Bailey Hongzhuang into the bottomless abyss, but he didn't want to be buried with Bailey Hongzhuang. However, Bailey Hongzhuang did not give Lu Wendy the slightest chance to retreat. The yuan power in her body gushed out as she executed the jade body refinement technique. A sparkling and translucent jade color climbed up her arms. In the next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang exerted force with both hands. With her right foot as the center, she spun her body and threw Lu Wendy, who was in front of her, down. Die! Bailey Hongzhuang shouted coldly, and the power in her body exploded to the extreme. Lu Wendy didn't expect Bailey Hongzhuang's strength to suddenly become so terrifying. It was completely beyond his expectations. By the time he reacted, it was already too late. His body fell off the cliff uncontrollably, and his face instantly turned pale. Once he fell, there would be no hope for him. At the last moment, Lu Wendy grabbed Bailey Hongzhuang's clothes, as if he was grabbing the last life-saving straw, and did not let go. In Lu Wendy's mirror lake, Xia Jiqing and the others found that Bailey Hongzhuang and Lu Wendy's figures had disappeared from the cliff. Hongzhuang! Xia Jiqing's eyes quickly turned red, and she screamed heartbreakingly. Chapter 1277. Master. Xiao He, Xiao Bai and Baisher were completely enraged at this moment. Their crazy attacks continued to attack Fu Yeyu and the others. This group of damn guys dared to let their master fall into the abyss. Fu Yeyu and the others were also stunned. According to their thinking, with Lu Wendy's strength, there was absolutely no problem pushing Bailey Hongzhuang down the cliff. None of them thought that Lu Wendy would die together with Bailey Hongzhuang. It seemed that the strength of Bailey Hongzhuang really could not be underestimated. Just one Bailey Hongzhuang, and their team had lost 3 cultivators. According to their thinking, this was simply an impossible thing, but it just happened. Although they felt pity for Lu Wendy, no matter what, Lu Wendy being able to solve Bailey Hongzhuang was a great merit for them. At the very least, they would be able to obtain the final victory in this competition. For a time, Xia Jiqing's women looked at Fu Yeyu and the others with hatred. They could not wait to tear this group of guys into pieces. Feeling the gaze of Xia Jiqing and the others, the expression of Fu Yeyu and the others also changed a bit. The appearance of the other party was really a bit scary. Did Hongzhuang really fall like this? Xia Jiqing looked at the edge of the cliff unwillingly. She could not believe that Hongzhuang had fallen like this. The faces of Gong Shaoqing and the others were also ugly to the extreme. This was something that none of them were willing to accept. However, when they were picking the blood ginseng fruit, they also looked at the edge of the cliff. The bottom was full of clouds and they could not see the bottom. Once a cultivator fell into it, there was almost no chance of survival. Fu Yeyu looked at Xia Jiqing and the others mockingly. She can't survive, you should give up. As soon as these words came out, Gong Shaoqing looked at Fu Yeyu angrily. If it were not for this group of hateful guys, Hongzhuang would not have fallen at all. All of you go to hell. Xiao Hei's eyes flashed with blood-red ferocity. It had waited for so many years in the chaos ring before its master finally appeared. However, it had now lost its master because of these fellows. This was something that it could not accept at all. It had to kill these guys. Hearing this, Fu Yeyu sneered. Since your master is already dead, I'll send you all to accompany him in death. Wei Yuanqing and the others also revealed smiles on their faces. Although their team had suffered great losses today, their lives were not in danger. Without Bailey Hongzhuang, you bunch of trash can just wait to die. However, just as Fu Yeyu and the others were feeling complacent, a cold and familiar voice suddenly rang out. It's too early for you to be happy. With this cold voice falling, the originally pale faces of Xia Jiqing and the others instantly filled with a trace of vigor, and their eyes were full of expectation as they looked at the edge of the cliff. Then under everyone's gaze, a white and smooth arm appeared on the cliff. Then, a white and otherworldly figure appeared before everyone once again. Bailey Hongzhuang's figure leapt up, standing firmly on the ground. Patting the dust off her body, a delicate and elegant smile bloomed on that charming face, gorgeous and beautiful. Lu Wendy's strength had also exceeded her expectations. The power that erupted in the face of death was even more terrifying, causing her to spend a lot of effort to kick that guy off the cliff. Chapter 1278. When everyone saw the ethereal figure again, everyone had different expressions. Some were surprised and some were depressed. Bailey Hongzhuang's white dress was stained with a bit of dust, vaguely revealing a bit of embarrassment, but the confidence lingering on her pretty face did not show the slightest bit of embarrassment. On the contrary, there was a kind of charm that stood out from the masses. The three beasts, as well as Xia Jiqing and the others, had an indescribable excitement on their faces. This feeling of joy was no different from rising from hell to heaven. Hongzhuang was always blessed with good fortune. This was such a pleasant surprise. Fu Yeyu and the others looked at Bailey Hongzhuang as if they had seen a ghost. This result was really unexpected. So to say, not only did Lu Wendy not push Bailey Hongzhuang down the cliff, but he fell down himself? How was this possible? Fu Yeyu and the others did not believe it in their hearts. With Lu Wendy's strength, this was simply impossible. However, the facts clearly appeared in front of them, and the irrefutable facts made them unable to refute. This is really a ghost. Wei Yuanqing looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in shock. He could not understand how Bailey Hongzhuang did this. According to the situation just now, Bailey Hongzhuang clearly fell down. Who would have thought that Bailey Hongzhuang's luck would be so good that she could climb up after falling down? At this moment, Fu Yeyu and the others all had a feeling of fear in their hearts. This Bailey Hongzhuang seemed to have the protection of a deity, shrouding their hearts in a layer of despair. Xia Jiqing looked at Wei Yuanqing and the others proudly. Now you all just wait for your death. As soon as these words came out, Fu Yeyu and the others' faces changed. After the fall of three cultivators, their advantage was no longer obvious. On the contrary, the power shown by Bailey Hongzhuang made them feel that it was difficult to continue. One after another, their companions died at the hands of Bailey Hongzhuang, which was a great blow to their morale. Fu Yeyu, Wei Yuanqing, and the others looked at each other. In this short moment they had already thought of a plan. The next moment, the practitioners of the Cosmos dynasty fled in all directions without hesitation. They no longer had the confidence to continue fighting. Running away was the best option. Seeing the cultivators of the Sky dynasty choose to run away after seeing Bailey Hongzhuang, Gong Shaoqing and the others were secretly speechless. Hongzhuang had scared the hell out of them. Xiao Bai and Xiao He were the first to rush up to chase after them after they reacted. At the same time, Bailey Hongzhuang, Xia Jiqing, and the others were not slow either. They quickly chased after them. If you don't remove the roots when cutting weeds, they'll grow again when the spring breeze blows. Today, the enmity between them and the Sky dynasty had been thoroughly established, and it would be best to settle it once and for all. After experiencing this, Xia Jiqing had already hated the cultivators of the Sky dynasty to the bone. She just wanted to kill them. Gong Shaoqing and Dongfang Yu did not chase after them. Their injuries had not healed yet. If it was a competition of speed, they were not the opponents of the other party. What's more, it was enough to have Xia Jiqing and the others chasing after them. After a long while, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others returned to their original place. Xia Jiqing and Bai Junyu's faces were full of excitement, and they were holding a qiankuan bag in their hands. Chapter 1279. Xia Jiqing's pretty face was full of excitement as she and Bai Junyu chased after the 7th level Red Realm cultivator. Originally, with their strength, it was not easy to deal with a cultivator at the 7th level of the Red Realm. However, in the situation of fleeing, the cultivator at the 7th level of the Red Realm was not able to exert his full strength and finally died at the hands of her and Bai Junyu. Bailey Hongzhuang was also holding a qiankuan bag in her hand. The other party's morale had already been defeated by them, so it was not difficult to kill them. Xiao He, Xiao Bai and Baishir also came back, but the three beasts were obviously not so happy. Damn it, Fu Yeyu ran away. Xiao He's eyes were full of anger. Fu Yeyu is too despicable. He used his teammates as a shield and ran away by himself. Xiao Bai and Baisher did not speak, but from their expressions, it could be seen that they were depressed. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang quickly understood the situation at the time. She had a feeling that Fu Yeyu was the smartest person among the cultivators of the Sky Dynasty. However, this guy even used his teammates. It could be seen that he was not a good person. Forget it, he ran away. Bailey Hongzhuang's face was filled with a faint smile as she comforted the three beasts. In any case, their harvest today was very rich. Yes, he can't do anything by himself. Maybe he will die in the hands of the monsters or other cultivators before he gets out of the forest. Xia Jiqing said with a smile. In the small world, the cultivators who were alone were always at a disadvantage, and if they were not careful, they would lose their lives. Listening to the words of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, the faces of the three beasts looked better. It's getting late, let's continue. Bailey Hongzhuang said slowly after looking at the situation of everyone. It took a lot of time to deal with the heavenly spirit bear before, and then it took even more time to meet the cultivators of the Sky Dynasty. They needed to rush to the city before nightfall. If they didn't hurry, it would be too late. Now they had consumed a lot of energy, and their bodies were covered with wounds of various sizes. They had to return to the city to rest as soon as possible. Everyone nodded. Fighting 2 battles in a row was really tiring. Previously, when they were fighting, their mental strength was tense, so they did not think about it. Now that they had relaxed a little, they felt an indescribable sense of exhaustion. Dongfang Yu and Gong Xiaoqing felt it the most. Their internal injuries were not something that could be healed in a short period of time, but they had already recovered a lot. However, they had to find a safe place to absorb the abundant energy in their bodies as soon as possible. Otherwise, it would affect them greatly in the long run. Everyone resumed their journey. The three beasts circled around Bailey Hongzhuang, their big bright eyes sparkling with concern. Master, how are your injuries? Bailey Hongzhuang was also injured in the fight with Lu Wendy. Bailey Hongzhuang waved her hand slightly. The injury is not very serious, it's not a big deal. As she spoke, Bailey Hongzhuang directly took out a healing pill from her Qingkuan bag and swallowed it. She did not expect Lu Wenda's martial arts to be so powerful, beyond her expectations. Chapter 1280. Xia Jiqing and the others also looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with concern. Now Bailey Hongzhuang was the backbone of their team. Hongzhuang, is your injury really okay? Xia Jiqing was worried. In the previous collision of martial arts, even if they were spectators, they could clearly feel the horror of the energy. What's more, Hongzhuang was in the center of the energy storm. Coupled with the fact that she almost fell off the cliff, they could faintly see Bailey Hongzhuang's pale face. Needless to say, they could also know that Hongzhuang must be injured. Looking at the concern on everyone's faces, Bailey Hongzhuang's heart warmed, and the smile on her lips softened. Don't worry, this injury will not be a problem. When everyone saw Bailey Hongzhuang's indifferent and confident appearance, they were relieved. Hongzhuang herself was a genius doctor. Since Hongzhuang said it was okay, then the injury should not be too serious. However, they had to rest for a while in the next city. Healing was one thing, and absorbing the energy of the blood ginseng fruit was another. Baisher walked beside Bailey Hongzhuang, and the aura of the Beast King filled the air. On ordinary days, he restrained his aura in order to let his master have a better experience and gain points. Now that his master was exhausted, in order to reach the city early, he released his aura. In this way, there would be no monsters attacking them. As long as they did not encounter cultivators from other dynasties, they did not need to worry along the way. Because of the injury, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other speed was a bit slower than before. Fortunately, there were no monsters along the way, so their speed was not slow. In the distance, Fu Yeyu looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, and the hatred in his eyes burned his whole body. He never thought that such a thing would happen to him. As the leader of the medium-sized dynasties, the Sky Dynasty had always believed that they could get good results in the assessment. Ordinary teams were not their opponents at all, unless they met a large dynasty team. Fortunately, they hadn't encountered any teams from large empires in the past month or so. However, who would have thought that they would fail like this? Furthermore, they were defeated by a team from a small empire? This was something that should have been impossible, but it had happened. All his previous confidence seemed to have turned into a joke. Before today, they were the high-spirited team of the Cosmos Empire. However, in just one battle all of his teammates had fallen. He was the only one left alive. He could imagine what would happen to him in the following days in this small world. Fu Yeyu's eyes were fixed on Bailey Hongzhuang. If it wasn't for Bailey Hongzhuang, he wouldn't have ended up in such a state. No matter what, he had to get his revenge. Fu Yeyu clenched his fists so tightly that his knuckles turned white. It could be seen how much strength he had used. Revenge was a dish best served cold. He would definitely find a chance to take revenge. Now that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were obviously heading to the city in front, he could not be discovered. He could only go somewhere else. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others continued to move forward, not noticing that there was a hateful gaze staring at them from afar. In fact, when Fu Yeyu had escaped, Bailey Hongzhuang had already mentally prepared herself. Chapter 1282. Xiao He and Xiao Bai looked at each other when they saw how hardworking White Lion was. Their eyes were filled with helplessness. At least White Lion knew how to increase his powers. However, the two of them had not slacked off in their cultivation during this period of time. However, for some unknown reason, their cultivation had remained stagnant. They could not help but feel discouraged. Xiao Bai, why do you think we can't increase our powers? Xiao He had a bitter look on her face. She had always wanted to be her master's right-hand man and protect her. However, they could not increase their powers now. Although they could still be of some help for now, once master's powers increase again, they would be of no use. When she thought of this, she could not accept it at all. Xiao Bai had a bitter look on her face as well. I don't know either. This is just too strange. This feeling was as if some kind of seal had sealed away their powers. It was just too strange. We can't go on like this. We have to think of a way to increase our powers. Xiao Bai stomped her feet angrily. If their powers could increase, Master would not have been injured today. Xiao He and Xiao Bai looked at each other. The two beasts then looked helpless. During this period of time, they had tried many methods but to no avail. It was really depressing. White Lion munched on a few demon crystals. Suddenly, a familiar feeling spread from within his body. White Lion looked excitedly at Xiao He and Xiao Bai. I'm about to begin my breakthrough. Once Master has left her closed-door cultivation, please inform her for me. Hearing White Lion's words, Xiao He and Xiao Bai's eyes flashed with excitement. Then the two beasts saw White Lion enter closed-door cultivation. Although it was said to be closed-door cultivation, it was actually just sleeping. After a brief moment of excitement, Xiao He and Xiao Bai could not help but sigh. White Lion had broken through again, but their cultivation levels had remained stagnant. Back then, how great was the gap between their powers and White Lion's? However, a year had passed and White Lion's powers were constantly closing in on theirs. After a period of time, White Lion's strength would surpass theirs. This was too worrying. When they thought of this, Xiao He and Xiao Bai stopped talking and began to cultivate together. Regardless of the reason why their strength had stagnated, they absolutely could not give up on cultivation. Bailey Hongzhuang, who was in seclusion, had no idea what Xiao He and Xiao Bai were thinking. At this moment, she was meticulously circulating the Demon Summoning Sutra. Along with the circulation of the cultivation technique, the abundant energy in her body also circulated in circles, constantly refining the energy, refining the impurities, and turning them into a part of her body. The energy of the blood ginseng fruit was gradually being refined, and the energy in Bailey Hongzhuang's dantian was also constantly growing. Silence was restored in the room. Only the breathing of Bailey Hongzhuang and the three demonic beasts could be heard. At the same time, Xia Jiqing and the others in the 4 rooms near Bailey Hongzhuang were also circulating the cultivation technique, absorbing the energy of the blood ginseng fruit. As they circulated the cultivation technique, they discovered how rich the energy of the blood ginseng fruit was. A steady stream of energy was injected into their dantian, and they only felt that their strength was rapidly and steadily increasing. This kind of feeling was really too pleasantly surprised. Before this, they had never felt such a rapid improvement. Chapter 1283. The cultivators in Xianming City waited for Bailey Hongzhuang and the others to make a move after seeing them enter the house. They were all cultivators who had experienced many battles. Therefore, just by looking at the embarrassing appearance of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, they could see that they were fighting with cultivators and not wicked beasts. Since Bailey Hongzhuang and the others could come back alive, it meant that they had killed the opponent's team. In this way, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others should have a lot of treasures and points in their Qiankuan bags. Most importantly, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were now exhausted and injured. If they made a move in this situation, they would definitely win. Everyone's eyes fell on the closed door of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others from time to time, only thinking about whether they should make a move. However, just as some of the cultivators made up their minds to make a move, suddenly, the primary energy in the air seemed to be attracted to the closed door. Seeing this scene, the cultivators in Xianming City could not help but be stunned for a moment. Someone was about to break through. Everyone looked at each other. They did not expect that a cultivator would break through under such circumstances. It was really good luck to break through after a big battle. After Bai Junyu used his cultivation method to absorb the energy of the blood ginseng fruit, he felt that his aura was constantly growing, and soon reached the edge of a breakthrough. Boom! A sound exploded in Bai Junyu's mind, and he broke through the barrier of the breakthrough in an instant. Level 5 of the Red Realm. In a short time, Bai Junyu completed the breakthrough, which was impossible under normal circumstances. However, after the blood ginseng fruit helped him break through to level 5 of the Red Realm, there was still a huge amount of energy. He continued to use his cultivation method to enrich the primary energy in his dantian. This is the aura of breaking through to level 5 of the Red Realm. I didn't expect this person to break through so quickly. After feeling the energy, the cultivators in Xianming City had already judged the strength of the other party. Breaking through was a very normal thing for cultivators. However, the speed of this cultivator's breakthrough was a little surprising. A cultivator at the 5th level of the Red Realm was not enough to stop them from attacking. After a short consideration, they decided to continue. At this moment, there was another surge of energy, but this time the person who broke through was Xia Jiqing. Xia Jiqing's face was serious, her eyes were closed, and she was meticulously absorbing the energy in her body. Previously, under the terrifying and enormous medicinal strength of the blood ginseng fruit, she was already unable to withstand it. Now that she could finally absorb this energy in peace, she had to cherish every bit of this energy to increase her strength. Boom! There was also an explosion in her mind, and a smile appeared on Xia Jiqing's face. 5th level of the Red Realm. Another cultivator at the 5th level of the Red Realm appeared. At the same time, 2 cultivators had broken through to the 5th level of the Red Realm, which made the onlookers' expressions change. One cultivator breaking through could be said to be a coincidence, but 2 cultivators breaking through at the same time was a little strange. Many teams from small dynasties had already given up their plans. The 2 cultivators at the 5th level of the Red Realm were not weak. Since it wasn't a guaranteed win, they weren't willing to take the risk. Chapter 1284. However, what happened next completely stunned everyone. They looked at the 5 rooms in shock and did not know what to say. Dongfang Yu and Gong Shaoqing's internal injuries gradually recovered under the effect of the blood ginseng fruit, and the remaining energy was continuously injected into their dantian. Under the infusion of this surging and abundant energy, their strength was also rapidly improving. Boom! Gong Shaoqing was the first to break through to the 6th level of the Red Realm. Since coming to the small world, he had been looking forward to improving his strength. After this period of hard work, he was not far from breaking through to the 6th level of the Red Realm. Now with the blood ginseng fruit, he directly broke through. Boom! Dongfang Yu followed closely behind and broke through to the 6th level of the Red Realm. In the past, his strength had always been slightly lower than Gong Shaoqing's, but after meeting Hongzhuang, he began to put all his thoughts on cultivation. Perhaps he just wanted to close the distance between them. For the first time in his life, he liked a woman wholeheartedly. but he found that he was indeed unable to reach her. Even though he knew that it was impossible, he still wanted to improve himself. 2 people broke through to the 6th level of the Red Realm in a row, and the cultivators in Xianming City were shocked. What the hell was this? There were only 5 cultivators in the team of this small empire. Not long after returning to the room, 4 people broke through one after another. They had never encountered such a thing. My God, which empire's team is this? How did they break through at the same time? In my opinion, they must have obtained some kind of treasure. Otherwise, it would be impossible for them to break through at the same time. I don't know what kind of treasure it is. These people are too lucky. In a short time, everyone had already confirmed their guess. Although they were very envious from the situation, it was obvious that the other party had taken it. Even if they attacked now, the treasure would not be able to be taken back, so it was useless. At this moment, all the cultivators had completely given up their plans. Originally, they had planned to take advantage of the other party's serious injury to hit them when they were down. Now Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were obviously not easy to bully. Since it was not the best time and the treasure had been taken by them, it was meaningless for them to attack again. Boom! Bai Junyu had broken through from the 5th level of the Red Realm to the 6th level of the Red Realm. This delightful breakthrough speed made him reveal a big smile. The effect of the blood ginseng fruit was really too good. His strength had already increased by 2 levels, but he still hadn't completely refined the energy. Boom! Xia Jiqing's speed was not slow at all. Her cultivation talent was not bad. Coupled with her constant efforts during this period of time, a breakthrough was expected. Boom! Boom! Gong Xiaoqing and Dongfang Yu broke through once again. Both of their hearts were boiling. It was true that riches and honor came from danger. If they had obediently given the blood ginseng fruit to the cultivators of the Cosmos dynasty, they would not have made the breakthrough. This terrifying breakthrough speed attracted the attention of all the cultivators in Xianming City, because this speed was simply too shocking. Chapter 1285. What kind of treasure did this small dynasty's team get? The breakthrough speed is so heaven-defying, and the 4 of them broke through at the same time. It's really weird. This kind of breakthrough speed is really enviable. Everyone's eyes were red with envy. Normally, it would take a lot of time to raise one's cultivation level, but they could directly save so much time. How could they not be envious? What's more, in this small world, strength was the most important. Everyone was trying their best to improve their strength, but the other side improved so easily. It was really annoying. At this time, many cultivators also noticed the room that had been silent. There were a total of 5 cultivators in this dynasty, and 4 of them had broken through 2 levels in succession. However, this room had been silent, which was a bit strange. Many people remembered the Bailey Hongzhuang in this room. That peerless beauty that could topple a city was really unforgettable. There has been no movement in this room. It seems that the aptitude of this cultivator is very poor. How can everyone break through so much? It's already very good that this team can have such a big improvement. Everyone seemed to have found a breakthrough, and the dissatisfaction in their hearts was expressed through this breakthrough. In any case, at least there was one person who could make them find psychological balance. However, just as everyone was ridiculing him, a suction force that was even stronger than any of the previous suction forces emanated from the room. The spirit power in the surrounding air seemed to be boiling and rushed madly into the room that had been silent. Such an attractive force made everyone stunned. They suddenly looked at each other and their faces became very interesting. This attractive force is stronger than the previous one. Is this woman also going to break through? Everyone looked at the room with astonishment. The smile on their faces had gradually disappeared and was replaced by a deep shock. Bailey Hongzhuang continued to refine the energy in her body. She also felt the aura of Xia Jiqing and the others breaking through. She couldn't help but feel happy for them. The 5 blood ginseng fruits had made a great contribution to their team. In one day, the strength of their team had improved a lot. The Orange Realm and the Red Realm were 2 different stages. The higher the cultivation, the more energy needed to break through. Therefore, her breakthrough speed was naturally not as fast as Xia Jiqing and the others. However, she had made a certain improvement when she was cultivating in the Tiangang sect. Now, with the power of the blood ginseng fruit, she could also go up a level. However, she always paid more attention to the stability of her foundation. It was precisely because of this that when her aura reached the critical point of a breakthrough, she did not rush to break through. Instead, she suppressed it slightly in order to stabilize her foundation. As the head of an aristocratic family in her previous life, she was very clear about the importance of having a solid foundation. Only with a solid foundation could one go further on the path of cultivation in the future. Boom! Bailey Hongzhuang finally broke through to the third level of the Orange Realm. Her aura was even more powerful than before. After feeling the strength of this aura, the cultivators who had been mocking Bailey Hongzhuang for not being able to break through shut their mouths at this moment. Chapter 1286. At this moment, all the cultivators in Xianming City were speechless. Although they did not know which dynasty Bailey Hongzhuang was from, it was undeniable that Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest had gone out. There would be cultivators breaking through in the city from time to time, but those were rare cases. It was the first time they had seen a team breaking through together, and not just by one rank. That night, many cultivators were curiously watching the movements of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. They just wanted to know what kind of realm their strength could reach. Compared to the shock of the cultivators in Xianming City, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest did not know how much shock they had caused to others. They were still in seclusion, focusing all their attention on cultivation. The 2 consecutive battles had given them a deeper understanding of cultivation, and at the same time, they had a better understanding of their martial skills. Every battle was an extremely rich experience. As long as they could absorb this experience, it would be of great help to them. 3 days later, when Bailey Hongzhuang opened her eyes, she felt refreshed. Her injuries had completely healed, and she was at her peak. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang had exited her cultivation state, Xiao He and Xiao Bai immediately jumped to Bailey Hongzhuang's side, their faces filled with joy. Congratulations, Master, on breaking through. Bailey Hongzhuang's face was filled with a bright smile. The effect of the blood ginseng fruit is amazing. It's even better than the blood ginseng fruit in the outside world. Even she was extremely amazed by this. She was already at Orange Realm level 2. Even if the effect of the blood ginseng fruit was amazing, she could only break through to Orange Realm level 4 at most. However, now that she had broken through to Orange Realm level 5, such a breakthrough in strength was too shocking. The origin energy in this small world is twice as rich as the outside world. The blood ginseng fruit has always been growing here, so it absorbs more origin energy than the blood ginseng fruit in the outside world. Naturally, the effect is stronger. After hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Xiao He and Xiao Bai immediately understood the crux of the matter. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. This small world is indeed a good place. Thinking of this, Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but look at Baisher. Speaking of which, White Lion was the greatest contributor. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang was looking at Baisher, Xiao He spoke up. Baisher reached a state of breakthrough after eating a few demon crystals. He is now in a deep sleep. Bailey Hongzhuang's black phoenix eyes were filled with a hint of understanding. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. The last time Baisher had broken through, he had also fallen into a deep sleep. However, he did not know how long Baisher would be asleep for. Have Jiqing and the others come out? Bailey Hongzhuang asked. When she was in seclusion, she did not know what had happened outside. If Jiqing and the others came out, then they could continue on their journey. Now that they were much stronger than before, they would be able to hunt demon beasts more easily if they went to the forest again. Xiao Bai shook her head and said, "They haven't come out yet, so it should take them a little longer." I see. Speaking of which, her cultivation level was very high, so the speed at which she refined energy was relatively fast. In comparison, the speed of Xia Jiqing and the others was a little slower. Chapter 1287. When Bailey Hongzhuang placed the rations in front of Xiao He and Xiao Bai, she was surprised to find that Xiao He and Xiao Bai did not look happy at all. On the contrary, the 2 little fellows looked very disappointed. Bailey Hongzhuang's inky black phoenix eyes were filled with a trace of doubt. She was very surprised. Usually, these two little guys didn't know the taste of worry. What happened today? Xiao Hei, Xiao Bai, what happened to make you unhappy? Bailey Hongzhuang asked. Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai shook their heads in unison. In reality, they were very depressed. During the 3 days that their master had been in closed-door cultivation, they had also been cultivating. However, they had not been able to achieve any results. In the end, they could only helplessly conclude that their cultivation had not improved at all. Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but frown when she saw Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai's expressions. She reached out her hand and patted the two little fellows' heads. Her voice also became gentler. What happened? If you believe me, then tell me. As Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai's master, she did not even know about the two little fellows' worries. She was not a good master at all. Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai's faces were filled with anxiety when they heard Bailey Hongzhuang's words. Master, of course we believe you. Bailey Hongzhuang was their master. How could they keep secrets from their master? However, when they thought about how their cultivation had stagnated, and how they would not be able to help their master in the future, and might even become a burden to her, they could not accept it from the bottom of their hearts. If their cultivation remained stagnant, given the speed at which their master's power was increasing, it would not be long before they would become contract beasts that could only be used as ornaments. Then tell me about your troubles. Bailey Hongzhuang placed Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai on her lap. Even though these two little fellows were usually very annoying, it was because of their existence that her life had always been so lively. After all, these two little fellows had transmigrated together with her. If it had not been for these two little fellows by her side, she might not even have understood the chaos ring's function. Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai were very touched when they sensed Bailey Hongzhuang's gentleness. Even though they found it hard to talk about this matter, they felt that there was nothing that they could not say to Bailey Hongzhuang. Our cultivation has been stagnant. Little Black lowered his head. His round and adorable smiling face was now filled with deep dejection. The feeling of being unable to increase her cultivation no matter how hard she tried, she had felt despair. It's useless no matter how hard we try to cultivate. Xiao Bai sighed as well. It was at its wit's end in this situation. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly understood. She had previously paid attention to Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai's cultivation. In the beginning, when Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai had been cultivating, their powers had been constantly increasing. However, recently there had been no movement at all. I remember that it had been effective in the past. When did your cultivation begin to stagnate? Bailey Hongzhuang asked. Back in the Azure Water Academy, she had brought Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai to the cultivation pagoda to cultivate. At that time, their cultivation speed had not been slow at all. Chapter 1288. Bailey Hongzhuang's delicate and beautiful face was filled with doubt. Her deep black eyes flashed with wisdom as she pondered. Bailey Hongzhuang kept thinking, there must be something wrong with this. Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai had been by her side all this while and nothing had happened. It shouldn't be caused by external forces. This was a little strange. How are you cultivating now? The elemental energy in your body hasn't increased? Bailey Hongzhuang asked. Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai nodded in unison. No matter how we cultivate, our elemental energy hasn't increased at all. Bailey Hongzhuang felt a little helpless when she heard that. This feeling was actually the same as when Bailey Hongzhuang was a good-for-nothing in the past. No matter how they cultivated, there was no use. She just didn't know how this happened to Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai. We haven't come into contact with anything special during this period. Logically speaking, this shouldn't be the case. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. No matter how she thought about it, she couldn't find the reason. It was really strange. Why don't you two cultivate for a while? I'll take a look at the situation. After thinking for a long time, Bailey Hongzhuang still couldn't come up with a solution. She could only think of this method to give it a try. Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai looked at each other. They also wanted to change this situation. Moreover, their master was a miracle doctor. If there was a problem in their bodies, they believed that their master would definitely diagnose it for them. Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai immediately started cultivating. Bailey Hongzhuang sat behind the two beasts and extended her mental strength. It split into two strands and entered Xiaohei and Xiaobai's bodies respectively. However, after Bailey Hongzhuang's inspection, she found that Xiaohei and Xiaobai's cultivation didn't have any problems. It couldn't be more normal. After exiting the cultivation state, Xiaohei and Xiaobai were dumbfounded. No matter how they cultivated previously, there wasn't any effect. How could it suddenly work now? How could this be? Our previous cultivation clearly had no effect at all. Xiaohei's eyes were filled with astonishment. How did the situation suddenly change? Xiaobai shook her head. I don't know. Could it be because Master checked it? The man and the two beasts looked at each other in confusion. Try again and see if you can succeed, Bailey Hongzhuang said. This was too strange. No matter what, as long as Xiaohei and Xiaobai could cultivate normally, it was a good thing. Xiaohei and Xiaobai nodded like chicks pecking at rice. They couldn't wait to confirm it. As long as they could successfully cultivate it, their previous problems would no longer exist. Xiaohei and Xiaobai entered the cultivation state again. Bailey Hongzhuang sized up Xiaohei and Xiaobai. She sincerely hoped that Xiaohei and Xiaobai would be able to reduce their troubles. Not long after, Xiaohei and Xiaobai opened their eyes again. Their eyes were filled with excitement. Master, we can cultivate successfully again. Xiaohei's voice was filled with unconcealable excitement. Previously, when they couldn't cultivate, they only felt that their entire life was dark. Fortunately, things had taken a turn for the better. Everything was back to normal. Bailey Hongzhuang's peerlessly beautiful face also revealed a joyful smile. Her gaze became even gentler. It's good as long as you can cultivate. Now can the two of you eat? Bailey Hongzhuang said with a smile. Chapter 1289. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Xiaohei and Xiaobai's eyes lit up in an instant, and they immediately rushed over. In the past 2 days, they had been distressed by the problem of cultivation, and they were not even interested in eating. Now they could finally eat with peace of mind. Looking at the two beasts eating, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but chuckle. In this state, they were the real Xiaohei and Xiaobai. Seeing that Xia Jiqing and others would not be able to end their retreat for a while, Bailey Hongzhuang's mind moved and she entered the chaos ring. She had been quite busy these past few days, and the time she had spent on inscription techniques was also relatively less. However, she had never given up, and as long as she had time, she would come to train. When Bailey Hongzhuang entered the chaos ring, she suddenly found that the closed stone room had opened again. Looking at this scene, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes could not help but fill with a hint of joy. Since the last time the stone room door about inscription opened, no other doors had opened. Now, it should be due to her breakthrough in strength that another stone room was opened. Her exquisite face was filled with an expectant smile, and she didn't know what kind of things were in the stone room this time. Xiaohei and Xiaobai also entered the chaos ring after hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's voice. Originally, they stayed in the chaos ring every day, but since entering the small world, they had been staying outside and had never gone in again. Another stone room door opened. Xiaohei rubbed her hands, and her eyes were full of excitement. Everything in the chaos ring was a treasure, and they were really curious about what kind of treasure it would be this time. It must be a treasure, haha. Xiaobai was also very excited. When they stayed in the chaos ring before, all the stone room doors here were closed, and they didn't know what was here. It wasn't until the owner arrived that the doors of the stone room opened one by one. So far, the things in each stone room were very precious treasures. It was because of this that they were looking forward to it. Master, let's go in and have a look. Xiaohei looked at Bailey Hongzhuang excitedly. Every time the stone room door opened, she had a feeling of looking for treasures, and she couldn't wait. Looking at Xiaohei and Xiaobai's excited appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang also felt funny. After experiencing cultivation, the two little fellows seemed to have become even livelier. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly opened the door of the stone room, but the scene inside was obviously different from what Bailey Hongzhuang, Xiaohei and Xiaobai had imagined. Because this was an extremely spacious stone room, the layout of the stone room's layout, it was very familiar. Bailey Hongzhuang looked around and found that this stone room was not the same as the first stone room. On a high platform in the middle of the room, A book of martial skills was placed quietly. Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai's eyes flashed with suspicion. Even though the things inside were different from what they had imagined, they thought that it would not be a simple thing. Just like the demon summoning scripture in the first stone room, that was a forbidden technique, and an average cultivator would never be able to see it in their lifetime. However, I wonder what kind of martial skill it is this time. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly stepped forward and took the book of martial skills. Chapter 1290. Yin Yang 8 Trigrams Formation. Bailey Hongzhuang's black phoenix eyes were filled with the thick color of astonishment. She didn't understand. The Yin Yang 8 Trigrams Formation was a very famous formation, but what kind of martial skill would be called the Yin Yang 8 Trigrams Formation? Just by hearing the name, one could tell that this martial skill was not simple. Thinking about it, the things in the Chaos Ring were never simple. After carefully reading the contents of the Yin Yang 8 Trigrams Formation, the confusion on Bailey Hongzhuang's face slowly turned into understanding. It turned out that Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai's abilities had been stagnant. It was not because something had happened to them, but because of the Chaos Ring's intention. Not for anything else but to make Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai stay at Orange Realm level 5 with her. The cultivation method of the Yin Yang 8 Trigrams Formation required them to stay at Orange Realm level 5. The most unique thing was that it was a combination skill. By cultivating with Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai, she and her beasts would finally combine into one, unleashing an even stronger combat power. Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai would form the Yin Yang 8 Trigrams Formation, while she would absorb the energy of the Yin Yang 8 Trigrams Formation. Thinking about it, the combination of 3 Orange Realm level 5 beasts would increase their abilities by quite a bit. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes shone with indescribable excitement. She had heard of this combination skill before, but it had long disappeared from the Shangxian continent due to its difficulty. Not to mention the rarity of this combination skill, it was already very difficult for the cultivator and the contracted beast to reach 100% trust and compatibility. Moreover, it was not easy to make the beasts and the cultivator stay at the same level. Therefore, she had never seen a cultivator perform the combination skill. She did not expect to see the combination skill today. It was a pleasant surprise. After hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's explanation, Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai both let out a sigh of relief. They thought that something serious had happened, but it turned out to be because of this. They were relieved. In that case, we can practice the same martial skill as master. Xiao Hei's eyes shone brightly like little stars. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. We have to work hard to learn this Yin Yang 8 Trigrams Formation. This is a killer move. If he encountered a situation where he was no match for his opponent, this Yin Yang 8 Trigrams Formation could be a martial technique that could turn the tide of the battle. Now that he had come to the small world, the surroundings could be said to be filled with danger. Danger could appear at any time. The Sky Universe dynasty was only a medium-sized dynasty, and they were already in such a difficult situation. What's more, they would encounter cultivators from large dynasties in the future, which would be even more dangerous. It was naturally best to take advantage of the current situation to increase his strength. Xiao Bai nodded repeatedly. We will definitely work hard to cultivate. Then, Bailey Hongzhuang sat on the bed and held the book while Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai sat on her shoulders. The three of them began to look at the book. While looking at the book, the three of them also began to try to cultivate. Time gradually passed. Bailey Hongzhuang, Xiao Hei, and Xiao Bai concentrated on cultivating the Yin Yang 8 Trigrams Formation. After understanding the reason behind it, Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but feel that the combination skill was really magical. She had never seen such a magical method before, and her eyes lit up. Chapter 1291. Bailey Hongzhuang, Xiao Hei, and Xiao Bai had been concentrating on cultivating the Qiankuan 8 Trigrams Formation. Because of the uniqueness of the body fusion technique, the way it operated was different from ordinary martial arts. Therefore, the speed of this cultivation was a bit slower than usual. Obviously, it was not something that could be cultivated in a short period of time. After 3 days, Gong Xiaoqing and Dongfang Yu exited from their cultivation state. The two walked outside the room to look around. After seeing that there was no movement in the other 3 rooms, they walked back into the room. It was taboo to be disturbed during a retreat. Therefore, they had to wait for everyone to finish their retreat. Bailey Hongzhuang, who was cultivating martial arts in the room, felt the movements of Gong Xiaoqing and Dongfang Yu and knew that the two had finished their retreat. However, she did not immediately go out, because there was no use for the 3 of them to gather. They had to wait for Xia Jiqing and Bai Junyu to finish their retreat. Xiao He and Xiao Bai were gnawing on dry food, while comprehending the uniqueness of the body fusion technique. They had to admit that this kind of body fusion technique was really complicated to cultivate. Even some meridians that were not used normally had to be circulated. It was just that these meridians had not been used for many years. There were many impurities in the meridians, and spirit energy could not pass through. Therefore, if they wanted to learn this body fusion technique, they had to first open up the meridians in their body before they could cultivate. Opening up the meridians was a very taxing and exhausting thing. Therefore, they had put all their attention on opening up the meridians these days. Bailey Hongzhuang also focused her spirit energy on opening up the meridians. These meridians were very small. If she wanted to open them up, not only would she need to consume a lot of spirit energy, she also had to control the flow of spirit energy. Otherwise, if there was too little spirit energy, the meridians would not be able to open up. If there was too much spirit energy, the meridians would likely be damaged or even broken. Speaking of which, this kind of feeling was very helpless. However, Bailey Hongzhuang did not feel bored because of this. As long as it was a powerful martial arts technique, it would take a lot of time to cultivate. Thinking back to when she was cultivating the sacred azure flame palm, she also spent a lot of effort and needed constant practice to be able to use it successfully. Now, because of the experience of her previous life, she was able to master the sacred azure flame palm in a very short period of time. This was the resource that belonged to her. Not long after, Bailey Hongzhuang noticed that Xia Jiqing and Bai Junyu had finished their retreat and stopped cultivating. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly walked out of the house. Little Black and Little White were still sitting on her shoulders. In the past few days, they had become more accustomed to this position. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang come out, Xia Jiqing and Bai Junyu's faces were filled with smiles. Hongzhuang, you finished. You Hongzhuang Zhuangs and Hongzhuang, S's and Hongzhuang Hongzong. And Yang and you. And Yi you. Xian you S. Of theirs of this. Shui Fang you of. The energy of this blood ginseng fruit is too strong. I didn't expect it to improve my strength so much. Dongfang Yu's elegant face was filled with a spring breeze smile. As soon as he saw the blood ginseng fruit, he knew that this was a good opportunity to improve his strength. However, even though he had expected this improvement was still too shocking. Chapter 1292. Although I have never seen the blood ginseng fruit, I have a certain understanding of its effect. I think this should be the influence of the richness of the small world, which is why the effect is so good. Gong Xiaoqing's cold and handsome face showed a wise look. The blood ginseng fruit in the outside world did not have such an effect. What cultivation level have you broken through now? Bailey Hongzhuang asked with a smile. With the blood ginseng fruit, her strength directly rose from the 2nd order of the Red Realm to the 5th order of the Red Realm. Gong Xiaoqing and the other strength would have a great improvement. Xia Jiqing's face was full of excitement. I am now at the 9th order of the Red Realm. Feeling the power in her body was completely different from before. She only felt that she was much stronger than before. In just a few days from the 4th order of the Red Realm to the 9th order of the Red Realm, this was a rocket-like improvement. Even if it happened to her, she still found it hard to believe because the improvement was too amazing. Bai Junyu smiled and nodded. I am now at the 9th order of the Red Realm. Compared to their previous cultivation, their combat effectiveness had greatly improved. Even if they encountered a team like the Sky Empire again, they would not be afraid. Congratulations. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. The smiles on Bai Junyu and Xia Jiqing's faces became more and more brilliant. Now they only felt that coming to the small world was the right choice. If they did not come to the small world, but cultivated in the outside world, they did not know how long it would take to rise to the ninth order of the Red Realm. Dongfang Yu and Gong Xiaoqing's faces also showed joy. Now they were a team. The improvement of their teammates' strength was the improvement of their team. Dongfang, what are your cultivation levels now? Bai Junyu asked aloud. His and Xia Jiqing's cultivation levels were lower than Dongfang Yu's. Presumably, Dongfang Yu and Gong Xiaoqing were now at the first order of the Orange Realm. Dongfang Yu smiled faintly. We are also at the ninth order of the Red Realm. Hearing this, Bai Junyu's face flashed with surprise. You are also at the ninth order of the Red Realm? Bailey Hongzhuang explained aloud. Dongfang Yu and Gong Xiaoqing suffered serious internal injuries before, and part of the energy of the blood ginseng fruit was used to heal them. As soon as these words came out, Bai Junyu and Xia Jiqing immediately understood. I see. Heavenly treasures were often able to heal injuries. If it weren't for the blood ginseng fruit, Dongfang Yu and Gong Xiaoqing's injuries wouldn't have healed so quickly. The energy of the blood ginseng fruit has healed our injuries. Although we are now at level 9 of the Red Realm, we are not far from level 1 of the Orange Realm. With that, everyone looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and asked, Hongzhuang, what's your cultivation level now? Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Orange level 5. Everyone nodded. The Orange and Red realms were different levels. Orange realms required a lot more energy to advance than Red realms. Therefore, it was reasonable for Bailey Hongzhuang to level up to Orange level 5. However, no one knew that this was the result of Bailey Hongzhuang deliberately suppressing it. Previously, when she was in the Bloodground Abyss, her cultivation had risen very quickly. She needed some time to stabilize her foundation. Now that he had consumed the blood ginseng fruit, his improvement was even faster. Chapter 1293. After seeing Bailey Hongzhuang and the others come out, the cultivators of Xianming City felt very helpless. From the time when Bailey Hongzhuang and the others entered the city, everyone thought they were weak, but now they were strong in everyone's eyes. It had only been a few days. In the past few days, the cultivators of Xianming City only felt that they had been greatly stimulated. They had been watching Bailey Hongzhuang and the others break through, and break through again one after another. Since when did breaking through become such a simple thing, so simple that it was unbelievable? In just a few days, the cultivation of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had completely improved by a level, which constantly stimulated their hearts. Now they only felt envious and jealous of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. They only hated that they were not a member of their team, and did not have the luck to obtain heaven and earth treasures. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang again after freshening up, they were no longer embarrassed like before. On the contrary, their outstanding appearance was now more energetic, and their spirit was completely different from before. I don't know which dynasty this group of guys came from. What kind of luck did they have to be able to suddenly improve their cultivation so much? I have never seen it before. It can only be said that they are lucky. When can I have such luck? This feeling is simply like a pie falling from the sky. Since we have all come out, why don't we set off? Xia Jiqing said excitedly. I can't wait to try my strength. Her strength had suddenly improved so much, she also needed to test it out. Looking at Xia Jiqing's excited appearance, everyone looked at each other and smiled. It had to be said that Xia Jiqing had a child's temperament, but it was precisely this that made people happy. Well, let's set off. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. They had also stayed in Xianming City for a while, and it was time to set off. Everyone packed up and immediately continued to walk towards the center of the small world. Xiao He and Xiao Bai sat on Bailey Hongzhuang's shoulders. They were now free and unrestrained. The most troubling problem had been solved, and they could also practice martial arts with their master. They were very happy. After seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang was not holding Baisher, Xia Jiqing could not help but have a look of doubt in her eyes. Hongzhuang had always been holding Baisher. For this reason, Xiao He and Xiao Bai were extremely unhappy. What was going on today? Hongzhuang, where did Baisher go? Why didn't I see him? Xia asked doubtfully. With Xia Jiqing's voice, Gong Xiaoqing and the others' eyes were all looking at Bailey Hongzhuang. Now they were used to having 3 beasts with them, as if they were a member of the team. Now that Baishar was not there, they always felt that something was wrong. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Baishar is about to start breaking through. He is now sleeping, and it is estimated that he will not wake up in a short time. Xia Jiqing and the others suddenly smiled and said, "This time the strength of our team has greatly increased. Not only did we break through, but Baishar is also breaking through. This trip to the small world is more and more exciting." Everyone moved forward with a smile, quickly walking into the forest, just to test the improvement of their strength. Chapter 1294. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others shuttled through the forest. Perhaps because of the excitement of the breakthrough, they were not as nervous as before in the face of the surprise attack of the monsters. On the contrary, they were eager to try. One by one, the wicked beasts fell under the swords of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. With the improvement of their strength, everyone found that their yuanqi, which would have disappeared in a short time, had increased a lot. Not only that, their control of martial arts had also begun to improve, and they could perform more smoothly. The improvement of strength is really different. Xia Jiqing's face was filled with a joyful smile. Compared to before, her speed of hunting monsters today was much faster. After a while, her strength had soared so much that she felt a little unaccustomed. Bai Junyu and the others looked at each other and smiled. For cultivators, improving their strength was the happiest thing. "Hongzhuang, if next time a cultivator asks us which dynasty we are from, how should we answer?" Bai Junyu suddenly thought of this question and immediately turned to look at Bailey Hongzhuang. In this small world, almost all the teams would mention the name of their dynasty, just like the last time the cultivators of the Sky Dynasty asked them. They were not from any dynasty, so it was better to unify their answers in the future. The Dark Phoenix eyes flashed with a touch of thought. If they said they were from the Tiangang sect, it would be difficult to convince other teams because they were really few in number. On the contrary, doing so might cause quite a bit of trouble. Last time, didn't the cultivators of the Sky Dynasty mistakenly think that we are from the Tiangang dynasty? I think this name is good, Xia Jiqing said. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Why don't we say we are from the Tiangang dynasty? This name was very good. No matter how the other party understood it, there was no problem with their name. Gong Shaoqing and the others looked at each other and immediately nodded. They also felt that this name was very good. Then it's settled, Gong Shaoqing said. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others walked all the way. Suddenly there was a movement on the left. Apparently there were teams from other dynasties. Bailey Hongzhuang and the other 4 gripped their weapons tightly. In this small world, fighting was a common occurrence. The slightest wrong word could trigger a fight between the 2 teams. During this period of time, they had seen many such situations. With a glance, the team that had arrived was also from a medium-sized empire. However, they looked extremely unfamiliar. It seemed that they had never interacted with each other before. The other party obviously did not intend to be their enemy, so Bailey Hongzhuang and the others no longer paid attention to them and continued to walk forward. Right at this moment, a pleasantly surprised voice suddenly sounded out. "Miss Bailey, I didn't expect to actually see you at the test competition." Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others couldn't help but stop. Xia Jiqing and the others all looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. Did Hongzhuang know this cultivator? Bailey Hongzhuang also looked at the person who spoke in surprise. In her impression, she didn't know him. However, the other party had called out her name. Obviously, he knew her. However, no matter how Bailey Hongzhuang thought about it, she didn't remember that she had seen him before. Chapter 1295. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the 18-year-old man in front of her and asked doubtfully, "Young lord, do we know each other?" Without waiting for the man to speak, the woman beside him smiled and said, "Miss Bailey, we are cultivators from the Snow Origin Dynasty's Yuan family. We saw you when you came to stay with the Yuan family, but it's normal that you don't remember us." When Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen came to the Yuan family, the patriarch treated them as distinguished guests. They went to see them out of curiosity, but Bailey Hongzhuang didn't pay attention to them. Therefore they knew Bailey Hongzhuang, but Bailey Hongzhuang didn't know them. When Bailey Hongzhuang heard that they were from the Snow Origin dynasty, she understood a little. After learning that they were cultivators from the Yuan family, a smile blossomed on Bailey Hongzhuang's face. So it's cultivators from the Yuan family. I didn't expect to meet you here, what a coincidence. This one is Yuan Jixin, this is my sister Yuan Xiaoman, Yuan Jixin said with a smile. Although Bailey Hongzhuang didn't know them, they admired Bailey Hongzhuang very much. Previously, they learned from the patriarch that Bailey Hongzhuang had obtained the inheritance of the blood-ground abyss, which was an extremely amazing inheritance. Bailey Hongzhuang was young, but not only could she withstand the pressure of the blood-ground abyss, but she could also obtain the inheritance. How amazing was this talent? The patriarch had already said that if they had the chance to see Miss Bailey in the future, they must treat her with respect and must not offend her. They thought that they would never see Bailey Hongzhuang again in their lives, but they didn't expect to meet her in this assessment. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly, her eyes sweeping across the Snow Origin Dynasty's team. Obviously, only Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman were cultivators from the Yuan family. Nice to meet you. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled brightly. These are my teammates Xia Jiqing, Bai Junyu, Dongfang Yu and Gong Xiaoqing. Hearing this, Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman also smiled with joy. Nice to meet you. When Gong Xiaoqing and the others learned that the other party was from the Snow Origin dynasty, they already understood that the famous Bloodground Abyss was located near the Snow Origin dynasty. These are our teammates Zhu Weicheng, Run Wantong, Feng Mingzhe. Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman introduced their teammates. Their expressions seemed to show their closeness to Bailey Hongzhuang. Although they didn't know why Bailey Hongzhuang would appear in the team of a small empire, Bailey Hongzhuang's strength and potential were already very good. In any case, they were of her. However, the other cultivators in Yuan Hongzhuang and think of the Yuan and Yuan, they only felt that Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman were too exaggerated. The other party was just a cultivator from a small empire, but Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman were actually trying to curry favor with him. This was a disgrace to their Snow Origin empire. In this small world, strength had always been respected. Only cultivators from small empires fawned over cultivators from medium empires. They had never seen cultivators from medium empires trying to close the distance between them. Therefore, when Yuan Jixin and Yi Zichen introduced them, they did not take it to heart. Bailey Hongzhuang was Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman's friend, but not their friend, so they didn't need to care. Chapter 1296. Yuan Xiaoman's face was filled with a joyful smile. She had always had a good relationship with Yuan Liqing, so she had gained a better understanding of Bailey Hongzhuang from Yuan Liqing's words. Speaking of which, it was quite miraculous. Yuan Liqing had only met a friend by chance, but she had never thought that the other party would be the successor of the Bloodground Abyss. This kind of luck had always been praised in their Yuan family. If it had not been for the appearance of Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen, the Yuan family's status in the Origin Martial City would not have reached its current level. All of this was because of Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen's appearance, which had helped them solve a big problem. Therefore, as a member of the Yuan family, she was filled with gratitude towards Bailey Hongzhuang. Hearing Yuan Xiaoman mention Yuan Liqing, the smile on Bailey Hongzhuang's lips widened. Speaking of which, she and Yuan Liqing had indeed hit it off at first sight. Thinking back to when she had left, Yuan Liqing was very reluctant to part with her. Is Liqing doing well now? Yuan Xiaoman nodded slightly. Sister Liqing is doing very well. I just hope to see you again one day. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others continued to move forward. Along the way, Bailey Hongzhuang and Yuan Xiaoman chatted happily. In this small world, almost all the cultivators they had met were people they had never met before. It was rare to see friends they knew, so there was an indescribable sense of familiarity. Miss Bailey, we still have to continue hunting monsters, so we'll take our leave first. After walking for a while, Yuan Jixin slowly said. He felt very helpless in his heart. Originally, he could have talked more with Bailey Hongzhuang, but the other cultivators in the group were clearly not satisfied with this. Along the way, he felt very unwilling. If this continued, his other teammates would probably explode. Bailey Hongzhuang was obviously aware of this situation and immediately smiled. Okay, see you next time. Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaomen waved at Bailey Hongzhuang, then left with the cultivators of the Snow Origin Dynasty. The Snow Origin Dynasty's cultivators didn't even bother to greet Bailey Hongzhuang. They turned around and quickly left, as if they couldn't bear to stay any longer. After the cultivators of the Snow Origin Dynasty disappeared from her field of vision, Xia Jiqing exploded. What kind of attitude is this group of guys have? Their nostrils are in the sky. I feel disgusted just looking at them. They are a team from a middle-sized empire. They are naturally disdainful when they see us cultivators from a small empire. Gong Xiaoqing's expression was still cold. He was not very angry about this. After all the cultivators in the small world were like this, so there was nothing strange about it. I think only Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaomen are good. Noticing Yuan Jixin's gaze, Yuan Xiaoman suppressed her anger. She was so angry that she almost spilled the beans. Now that Yuan Jixin had stopped her, she realized that it was a good thing that she didn't spill the beans. Seeing that Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman didn't speak anymore, Ran Wantong and the others couldn't help but show a satisfied expression. Not far away, after a group of cultivators heard the conversation between the cultivators of the Snow Origin Dynasty, their expressions changed, and their eyes were immediately filled with a wisp of interest. Chapter 1298. It was obvious that the various forces had done a lot of preparation when they constructed the small worlds. This was how the assessment had been conducted for so many years, so the distance between the cities was considered. As long as they did not encounter any major incidents along the way, most cultivators would be able to reach the next city before nightfall. The number of demonic beasts in the small worlds was shocking. Even though the cultivators had been trying their best to hunt the demonic beasts, the number of demonic beasts seemed endless. Just like the great battle back then, it was too difficult to kill all the demonic beasts. This was probably the most powerful aspect of the demonic beasts. In the following days, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest went out to hunt demonic beasts during the day, and returned to the city at night. Their days were quite fulfilling. As their strength increased a little, some of the troublesome matters also decreased a little. Kind people were bullied, kind horses were ridden. The cultivators in the small worlds paid more attention to this point. As such, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest were happy and relaxed. They hunted demonic beasts every day, and the speed at which their points increased was not bad. Through Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest's research, they realized that the empire's teams that they had encountered so far were from small and medium-sized empires. It was obvious that the empires of different levels would appear in different areas. Perhaps this was done on purpose by the various forces to be fair. After all, if the cultivators from small empires encountered cultivators from large empires at the beginning, there would be no other possibility other than failure. It was obvious that it was better for them to encounter each other later. Moreover, it was best for the various empires to meet each other. Although it was inevitable that all the empires would meet at the end, it still gave everyone the most time. A month later on this day, Bailey Hongzhuang's group of 5 also walked into the city before nightfall. Now they were already used to such a situation. However, when Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest entered the city, they realized that the situation in the city was different from usual. This was because there were very few cultivators in the city at first glance. This was extremely strange. During this period of time, every city that they had visited was filled with cultivators, and it was rare to see such an empty situation. There's a commotion in the central square of the city. Why don't you go and take a look? I heard that the cultivators from the Green Firmament Empire are teaching the cultivators from the Snow Origin Empire a lesson. I wonder what kind of feud there is between the two empires. It's such a big commotion. Since we have nothing to do here, we might as well go and take a look. Some of the surrounding cultivators' faces flashed with interest, and they immediately walked toward the central square of the city. Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest felt that the situation in the city was very strange, so they paid more attention to the discussions of the few cultivators around them. Just by hearing a few keywords, their expressions changed rapidly. The Green Firmament Empire. The Snow Origin Empire. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were no strangers to these two dynasties. For the Qingshao dynasty, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others hated it to the bone. You're tuning into the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.